Hashem Na'aseh v'Natzliach, Shiur Torah, B'ruchim Habayim. We're back on our Wednesday night program, Stump the Rabbi, where B'ezrat Hashem, you guys will ask some good questions. Kadosh Baruch Hu, B'ezrat Hashem, will give us some answers. But beforehand, as our way in the holiness, we always start with a nice Dvar Torah to give you some new insight, give you some things to think about, perhaps direct certain questions to certain topics to remind you. B'ezrat Hashem. Tonight's shiur, B'ezrat Hashem, will be for a refuah shlema for Rabbanit Sarah Bat Anat, Rabbanit Levana Bat Sarah, Rav Ephraim Ben Shulamit, Chana Rivka Bat Vivian Fortune, Abigail Bat Surya, and Levin Ben David HaKohen, Orit Bat Ilana, David Ben Eslia, Doris Bat Jora, Yitro Ben Avraham, Michal Bat Yael, Talia Bat Sarah, Stefan Ben Katarina, and also for a Atzlacha Rabba for Shaul Ben Farzane, Marsha Bat Julie, her dear daughter Ayla Bat Marsha, and two sons, Samuel Ben Marsha and Alexander Ben Marsha. Also Oshri Ben Doris, Gabi Ben Doris, Elad Ben Doris, David Ben Esria, Yitro Ben Avraham, and all of Am Yisrael, especially the ones that are helping us with their time, with their resources to raise some funds, to do some kiruv, to reach more pure neshamot. Baruch Hashem, every day there's new stories of new people that are doing tshuva. We're trying to put our many hats on to to utilize whatever talents, abilities, resources that we have from the past, from the present, in order to get to more people. I mean, it's amazing that in the last year we had over 60 million minutes of Torah learned on our channels, which is extraordinary. It's the fastest growing YouTube channel for a rabbi out there, Baruch Hashem. But at the same token, we know that there's a lot more to be done, and B'ezrat Hashem HaKadosh Baruch Hu will multiply that by an endless number. And of course, all of that is not only in the hands of Hashem, but also in our hands, in the hands of the supporters, the people that help us, whether it's like I said, with money, with time, with simple sharing. If you could share this lecture right now with everyone that you know on your pages, to get more and more people to watch these shiurim, because at the end of the day, I've never heard anybody say that they've watched the shiurim on a regular basis and they got hurt from them. Quite the contrary. Many people have told us that it's changed their lives. Sometimes people would watch the shiurim, these lectures, for a period of a few months or even a couple of years before they would contact me for the first time. But they would tell me, listen, I'm talking to you now, I'm a different person than the one that first started watching the shiurim. I was very skeptical in the beginning, but I started learning, I started implementing, and my life has changed. My marriage has improved, my job has improved, financial situation improved, health issues, all types of things, Baruch Hashem. Kadosh Baruch Hu blesses those that love Him. And how do you show Kadosh Baruch Hu you love Him? One of the main ways is to learn His Torah. To learn His Torah, another way is to support the Torah. So again, everybody within their means. The Chafetz Chaim one time said that he once met a wealthy person who told him, Rabbi, just want to let you know that although I'm supporting the Rav Yeshiva, you should know I'm also supporting 12 other yeshivot. He said, Baruch Hashem, and how much does Kvodo invest in all of these yeshivot? He says, Kvod Harav, 12 rubles, which at the time was a decent amount of money. 12 rubles, Baruch Hashem. Okay, and how much does Kvodo invest on his window treatment to fancy his house? A beautiful house. What did it cost to make the house look like this? Kvod Harav appreciates. Oh yeah, of course, these these window treatments and the walls and the paint and everything, I got a good deal out of it. 28 rubles. So the Chafetz Chaim looks at this rich fool who thought he was smart and says, okay, so you invested 28 rubles. Let's call it $2 million even. You invested 28 rubles on fixing your house in this world, but 12 on the house you're going to live in forever. And you're actually proud of that? So of course, again, this is a rebuke from the Chafetz Chaim, that sometimes people they do good things, but not in their level. Not in their level. Why not in their level? Because the Kadosh Baruch Hu knows He's the one that gives each one of us 100% of what we have, and in essence, what He's expecting us to do is to give a portion of that for His Torah, and at the very least 10% of the Maaser. And if someone has real emunah or wants to gain wealth in the world, should give chomesh, and that means 20% of their income. And of course, if they have a large amount of assets, to give even more. But many people think this is, it's all about money. It's not all about money. I can tell you personally. Well, it's just, you could understand the situation. If something is said in the Torah, that means it's true. Simple. It's there's no debate, there's no misunderstandings, that means it's true. The Gemara in Masechet Ta'anit says that there was a very wealthy person by the name of Nagdimon ben Gurion. Nagdimon ben Gurion was an extremely wealthy person and was one of the 3 people that financed all of Am Yisrael when they were enclosed by the enemy for 3 years. So you just understand how wealthy he was. He financed the whole nation, him and two other tzaddikim. And he was a very righteous person. He was very wealthy. There's a few different stories about him in the Gemara about his wealth. One deal that he had with an Arab, that he borrowed his wells, and HaKadosh Baruch Hu made a very big miracle for Nagdimon ben Gurion by stopping the sun in its place, meaning that he's one of less than a handful of people in history, 4 people in history, that HaKadosh Baruch Hu reversed the sun for him. So you just understand this is a righteous person, not just a person that has a lot of money. That doesn't mean anything. But a person that was very smart, very righteous, and nonetheless very wealthy. But the Gemara says that the sages once saw, Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai saw a woman one time after there was a churban, there was a big disaster, a complete recession, depression, destruction, poverty everywhere, famine, and he saw that there was a young woman that was looking through the waist of the horses that belonged to the Arabs. And he says, Biti, my daughter, who are you? And she says, I'm so-and-so. He says, what are you doing? And she says, I'm looking for grains, certain grains that the animals didn't digest, so perhaps we can get them and eat. We're hungry. And he says to her, who is your father? And she says, my father is Nagdimon ben Gurion. Rabbi Yochanan says, how could it be? Nagdimon was very, very wealthy. She says, yes, he was very wealthy, but Hashem took everything from him. And she says, what about your father-in-law? He says, no, Hashem took everything from him too, because he was involved in business with my father. So there the Gemara says, why did HaKadosh Baruch Hu take Nagdimon ben Gurion? He asks her. So she says, because although he gave a lot of donations, he didn't give enough. He didn't have the protection from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. He gave a lot of money. He gave millions and millions of dollars, but it wasn't to his ability. It wasn't to his ability, and therefore he did not have the protection. The Gaon of Vilna says, if somebody wants to have financial protection from depressions, recessions, and so on, they have to make sure to be very, very particular about giving their maaser. 10% of their income goes to for the sake of the Torah, and of course, it has to be real Torah, not the fake Torah, not people that are just collecting money for the sake of their lining their pockets, but real serious Torah to help people get closer and closer to HaShem, to help people do tshuva and so on. And today it's becoming more and more difficult to find some of those organizations, because there's, as I've told you guys in the past, which we're not going to elaborate on today, there's unfortunately a lot of fake campaigns on the internet. Every day there's new campaigns, and I can tell you from experience, many of them are fake campaigns outright. Fake. They're not funding anything. I told some of my local students that I knew and verified for sure that about a year or two ago there was a campaign local here in Florida where they were raising $2 million or $2.2 million for a sick baby. They raised the money literally within less than 2 days. People were so enamored by the story, they felt so bad, they wanted to raise this young girl the money to get the medical treatment that she needed. And literally you had maybe 25, 30,000 people donated the money, and they raised over $2.2 million in less than 2 days. And only to find out that shortly after, the family found out they don't need the money. The insurance is going to cover. The insurance is going to cover the treatment, which means they don't need the money. Now, obviously, if you raise $2 million to get medical treatment, and now you don't need the money because the insurance is going to cover it, what are you supposed to do? According to Halacha, you have to return the money to people. No questions asked. No, listen, you already gave it, so maybe we could use it. No, you have to return it to people. Why? Because they gave it to you under the premises, under the understanding that you're going to use it for medical treatment. Once it's not for that, it's called mekach taut, meaning that there's a mistake. You can't use it for anything else. But unfortunately, the two or three, it seems like it's three people that were running this campaign, unfortunately all claim to be religious, and two of them claim to be rabbis, did not return the money to the people. They sent some rinky-dink email to a few people saying, listen, we don't really need it, but we can use it for something else. We can start other things. We can do other things. Long story short, $2 million went to the garbage. Now, aside from the fact that this is stealing, and this is wrong, and it's chilul Hashem, and so on and so forth, it's not the only fake campaign out there. There are many others out there, and every day there's new ones. So that's why, investing into the Torah is becoming more and more difficult. But the point being is, you have to know who you're dealing with. So the Gaon Vilna says that if you invest in Torah, in real Torah, on a regular basis, you invest 10% of your money into Torah, you'll have protection if there's a crisis of some kind, which, from my experience on Wall Street for almost 2 decades, I would say that there is one coming very soon. Now, I've been saying that for a while, but at some point, even a broken clock is right twice a day. And I would say that it's going to happen very soon, simply because the market has been going up for over a decade straight, and anyone that knows a little bit about finance and the markets and so on knows that that's not nothing goes up forever. The financial gravity is at full force, and when it falls fast. As they say on Wall Street, they say the bulls run up the stairs, but the bears jump out of the window. Meaning that when the market goes up, it walks up like stairs, but when the market crashes, it's like a bear. A bear is signifying that the market went down. It's like he jumped out of a window, meaning it drops precipitously. So anyone that's smart, that made a lot of money, or even if they didn't, just simply is at this stage in the market, I always tell them, I don't give an investment advice, but if I was an investor, I wouldn't be invested. Why? You have a situation where the odds are against you. But anyway, people don't want to listen until it's too late. And then when it's too late, they say, I told you so. The point being is that anyone that wants protection from such a thing has to, number one, not be stupid or greedy. And number two, also has to make sure to give maaser off their money. And that's of any income that they get, whether it's they get the money gifted to them, or they get it from the government, unemployment, their jobs, inheritance, and so on and so forth. Some say that if, let's say your parents gave you a specific amount of money to go do something specific with it. Let's say you just got married, your parents just gave you, a bunch of money to go buy a house. Then on that money you don't have to give maaser, because in essence they're giving you the money to go buy a house. But everything else you have to give maaser on. Now that's for financial protection, the Gaon Vilna says. What if somebody wants to attain wealth? If somebody wants to attain wealth during their lifetime, then they have to pass a bigger test. What's the bigger test? Giving what's called chomesh. Chomesh means 20%. Now, giving 20% may not sound like a big deal, but I promise you from experience, it is a very, very big deal. Why? Because you're going to get tests, and it's going to look like the numbers don't add up, and it's going to look like you can't do it, and so on and so forth. So you have to fight the Yetzer Hara on a regular basis, but I promise you that when you do it, you'll succeed in a very, very big way. And Hashem makes a promise. Hashem makes a promise. Now, when the Nagdimon ben Gurion gave his money, he gave it based on numbers. Apparently, he did not give it based on these principles, and therefore he did not have financial protection. Now, you'd say, yeah, but maybe this, but maybe that. Okay, so every people always like things to be personal. So I'll tell you personal. When I was making millions of dollars on Wall Street, now HaKadosh Baruch Hu blessed us with a certain ability, certain talent, certain know-how, certain this, certain that, but in reality it's all Hashem. And Hashem gave and Hashem took. May His name be blessed. But you would say, oh, so what did you do with the money? What, did you buy planes? No, I actually didn't buy any toys. I didn't have any toys. I had an apartment that was very well, that was a very expensive apartment, which Baruch Hashem HaKadosh Baruch Hu took also. I had a company that was worth a lot of money, and that's pretty much it. I had an investment portfolio. I didn't have expensive watches, expensive cars, nothing. I was making a lot of money. Now, I did donate a lot of money. I bought a Sefer Torah for a lot of money. I donated to a Bet Knesset quite a few times. I had people come to my office on a regular basis, and I would give them money every single time they came. Sometimes it would be a few hundred, sometimes it will be a few thousand, sometimes more. But the point is that I never said no. I always gave. I never had a problem giving, Baruch Hashem. It was never my tikkun. But I also never knew that these things I just told you about, the maaser and the chomesh, the protection and the wealth, and so I didn't know about that. So after going through a career where you're making, I made tens of millions of dollars, and and if you calculate how much the value was of the company at some point, it's much more than that. You look at how much you gave, and although what I gave is a lot by anybody's standards, it's not even close to what my obligation was. Which means that although I gave a lot, although I did a lot, I didn't have promise from Hashem that He's going to protect it. Why? You gave a lot, but you didn't give what you were supposed to. What you were supposed to was a lot more than what you think is a lot. And that's the thing. So I see this all the time, and I can tell you also a second story that I know somebody that just a year ago, a little over a year ago, told me that he was making $5 million a year clean in his business, and he was giving donations, he was doing good things, and it's me at the time, I wasn't doing good things. I was not keeping mitzvot and so on, so you could blame the loss on a million things. But here in this case, this other person says that he's religious and he even learns a little bit, and he gives. So he was making $5 million a little over a year ago, and once Corona happened, literally in a matter of 24 hours, his income went from $5 million a year to zero in a second. Like his whole business went and became worthless. Now, when you deal with such a blow, I mean, it's very hard to deal with anything that makes sense, or have a normal conversation with such a person and so on. But the point being is that you would find out that although this person did give a lot, and although this person was generous with certain people and certain things in certain places, Baruch Hashem, he never gave us $1. We already met him after he lost his money. But the point being is that you find out that although he gave a lot, although he made a lot, if you compare the two, what's the obligation versus what's the, what did you receive? He didn't even give close to 10%. He didn't even give close to 10% of his income. Which means that he had no protection. So when push came to shove, there was a decree that came to the world, we called Corona, and the financial crisis that made certain people extremely wealthy, made certain people go into a financial crisis. And in this particular case, I know firsthand someone that literally had $5 million a year income for years, literally went to zero. Now, of course, when you make that kind of money, you also make those kind of commitments, those kind of expenses, which means that it's not just losing the money, it's also having to start readjusting your life in a very big way, taking very big losses, and so on and so forth. So the point is that if the Gemara says something and people say, oh yeah, but I don't think that's true, but I don't think it is, but I don't think this, and I don't think that, that means that you don't really understand what you're dealing with. You don't understand that when the words come out of the sage's mouth, it's no different than if Malach Gabriel or Michael came and said it to you in the name of God. It's no different than one of the prophets coming to you and saying it in the name of God. It's no different. But that's the problem. A lot of people don't understand that. So we see that many people today that have a tough time following the rules and learning Torah, doing mitzvot, and doing everything that they're supposed to, not just giving tzedakah, but other things, it's typically because of their addiction to desires. And even when sometimes you tell them the truth, of course, many do tshuva and fix themselves, but nonetheless, many reject the truth. They reject the truth because their commitment to their desire is much higher than their commitment to God at that point. But furthermore, it's because they don't think that what you just said in the name of the Gemara, in the name of a certain sage, in the name of a certain gadol, in the name of even God himself, they don't necessarily think it applies to them. They don't necessarily think it applies to them. And there's a Rav Hutner, alav shalom, Rav Hutner, in a sefer called Titzeh Lecha Milchama, he says, it quotes Rav Hutner, says, it's like prophecy what he said. He says that the biggest heresy that will exist in the generation before Mashiach will be that people do not think that tshuva for the biggest sins such as wasting seed and other things is applicable to this generation. That's going to be the biggest form of heresy. Where in the past you've always had sinners. Even at the time of Isaiah the prophet, the first Bet HaMikdash, you had immodesty, immorality, and so on. But Rav Hutner was one of the Gedolei Ador in America in a previous generation. He says, no, what are you going to see in the last generation before Mashiach comes? You're going to see a new form of heresy. They're not going to say, listen, we don't want to do it because we like this desire. No, they're going to tell you, not only do we like the desire, but also, we don't even think that tshuva is applicable to us. We don't actually think we need to do it. Why? Wasting seed, it's too tough to overcome it. So, it's not applicable to us. Keeping Shabbat, it's too difficult. It's not applicable to us. So, we're not going to do it. And that's going to be the highest level of heresy in the last generation. And in essence, that's what actually we're seeing. It's mamash a prophecy, if not that, then it's a Ruach HaKodesh from the Chachamim, where they literally knew exactly what the future holds for our nation. And really one of the biggest things is because people do not have respect for the Chachamim and the words of the Chachamim when they read some of their words or they hear some of the words that they said in their names, they don't think it necessarily applies to them because they don't really understand what it takes to be a Gadol. Now, we'll go and try to elaborate a little bit tonight before the questions on what it really means to be a Gadol and really being said by a Gadol, by the Chazon Ish, and some things perhaps by Rav Ovadia. Now, anyone that's been watching our Jewish Hashkafa series knows how extraordinary the Chazon Ish is by now. We have 24 lectures that we've done based on his book called Emunah V'Bitachon. Our series is called Jewish Hashkafa. Highly recommended series for everybody to really teach you what is the right ideology for a Jew, needless to say, for any human being. And the Chazon Ish, in there, in the first chapter, he says that once a man, the first chapter, 9th section, once a man's intellect has managed to see the truth of God's existence, immediately that man feels great joy and contentment, and non-logical thinking joins with the intellect in basking in the pleasantness of Hashem. All the pleasures of the flesh slip away, and the man's refined spirit becomes enveloped in holiness, as if it has left the turbid body and is walking in the heavenly pathways. Here he's describing what is the feeling of being a gadol in the Torah. You don't necessarily need to be the biggest sage of the generation, but when a person becomes aware of the truth of God and has brought himself to Torah, to toiling in Torah to such an extent that he has overcome, or she has overcome, the evil inclinations, confusion, and is now able to combine their imagination, their non-logical thinking, their emotions with their intellect, they will feel immediate pleasantness of HaShem, like as if HaShem has entered you. And that person starts to feel, and this is on certain people will literally feel this at all times, feeling such a elevation among mankind, to such an extent that when a man arises to such heights of holiness, a new world is revealed to him. In this world, it is possible for a man to be like an angel for a few minutes and enjoy the glow of holiness. All the world's pleasures become worthless compared to the pleasure of cleaving to his Creator. Meaning all of the joy that you can possibly imagine, whether it's joy from food, joy from money, joy from honor, joy from intimacy, joy from anything else that you can possibly imagine, if you combine all of that joy that you have ever had in your life, all of it becomes worthless next to a single moment of actually being cleaved, being glued to God. In this world, we're not even talking about heaven and all the good things over there. We're talking about just like the feeling here. Now, this very same Chazon Ish says he has letters. It's called the Kovetz Igrot of the Chazon Ish. These are the letters of the Chazon Ish. And here in letter, in a Chelik Aleph, Igrot Yud Gimel 13, in a certain letter, he writes, one that merits to know the Torah walks among men and looks like them, but is in fact an angel among men. And knowing Torah is evidenced by one who's united his non-logical thinking and intellect. Same thing of what we just said before. What does it really mean in actual, in practical terms? This person has toiled in Torah to such an extent that his mind and the Torah have become one. He thinks in the words of Torah. You ask him questions, he's thinking of verses, of halachot, of different sages, different stories. He's thinking in the mind of a Torah. That's what his mind has become. He doesn't think based on his own logic or his own... No, he thinks like a Sefer Torah, a living Sefer Torah. In the same Igrot, same Sefer, in Igeret Lamed Gimel 33, the Chazon Ish says that when one toils in halacha, he's a posek, whether you have, some of the poskim in the world, and they, in order for them to give a psak halacha, it's not just like, oh, you know what, I think no. Oh, you know what, I think yes. No. When the Rambam or the rest of the sages, the Rishonim, the Achronim, all of the great poskim of the previous generations, and even now, they didn't just issue a ruling just because they felt like it. If you go into the Gemara, you see how much goes into every single ruling, and there's different opinions and so on and so forth. So the Chazon Ish wants to tell you, what does the actual experience feel like? What's happening here? He says that when one toils in halacha and gets to a point where he's toiled enough and has arrived at a conclusion in order to make a psak, in order to make a ruling, that person becomes like an angel. The feeling that he's elevated himself and his soul to such a point after toiling with all the different books and the different sages of previous generations and current generation and so on and so forth. He's toiled so much, he's literally elevated himself. At that moment that he's making a psak, he's becoming like a messenger of Hashem, like an angel. And therefore, when one disputes, the Chazon Ish says, when one disputes or disagrees with, let's say, Rashi or Rambam or any of the other great sages, it's like someone who disagrees or disputes with the angels. What difference does it make if you're disputing the angel Michael or the angel Gabriel or Raphael? surely you realize that not only you're wrong, but you sound like an idiot. And this is like what the Chazon Ish says, just without the idiot part. Surely you're wrong, and it's foolish. Why? You're going to go argue with the angel of God. You're going to go argue with Gabriel. You're going to go argue with Michael. You're going to go argue with one of the Chayot. They're going to tell you, listen, this is what God said to me. No, what are you talking about? He says, when you argue with Rashi, because you don't think that maybe he issued enough halachot according to your standards, or when you argue with Rambam because you don't think that he's up with the times, he's not living in 2021, and when you argue with any of the poskim, anything, you are simply arguing with an angel. Get a hold of yourself and realize, return to reality. You're not living in reality. You're not living in reality, even if you have a long beard and a hat and you think you're a rabbi. Now, in EREV RAV, the Chazon Ish says, 36, one who toils in Torah and fulfills the main obligation of toiling it with joy, especially so with joy, there will not be any such thing as sadness in that person. Why? Because one who knows the light of the emet cannot have any of this sadness that people have every day. People are taking Prozac and all types of pills and so on. Why? They're missing in Torah. Now, I'm not talking about natural sadness like someone died or things like that. Yes, of course, even that Torah talks about. We're talking about just, wakes up on the left side of the bed, on the wrong side of the bed, and simply is upset and doesn't know why. He wants to call it, gives it a name, the winter blues or something. That's not part of a Torah scholar's life. It's not part of it. It's just simply not. Why? Because, again, this is something that you have knowledge about the light of the truth. You know the point of life. You know the purpose of life. You know where that life doesn't end here. You know that there's a God. You know all these different details of who, what, when, and how, what HaShem wants from you, and so on and so forth. Sadness does not become part of your life. Now, who is actually saying this? The Chazon Ish. The Chazon Ish is saying this. So what? The Chazon Ish live in a $10 million house, have 10 kids, all of them scholars, a happy wife, full good bill of health. Let's see. In the same Sefer, in Igeret 153, Kuf Nun Gimel, he says the following: everything that I do, meaning all of the mitzvot, all of the books that I write, all of the learning, everything that I do is really out of circumstances whereby I am anus. Meaning, in reality, all of the mitzvot that I do, all of the Torah learning that I do, in reality, I don't have to do any of it. I don't have to do any of it. Why? Why doesn't he have to do any of it? Whereby I am anus due to the endless troubles, tribulations, and sicknesses, to the point where I have never merited to have any of the pleasures of this world. And this is in addition to the bodily pain my whole life. And my only joy in life is to do the will of my master, and I have no sorrow greater than failing at a transgression. The Chazon Ish was a Gadol Hador. He's saying to us, just so you know, the amount of troubles that I have in my life, sickness, he had no children, he was extremely poor, all types of troubles, Hashem Yishmor v'Yitzil. He says, I've gone to the point where I'm suffering so much from life, I've never experienced joy. You have joy. You wake up in the morning, you make yourself a 3-course breakfast. You put the special type of cream cheese on your bagel because you want the extra, the extra this and the extra that on it. And you make yourself a nice 16-ounce steak maybe once or twice a month or once a week, depends on who you are. And you also have, not just water, you want to have Coca-Cola, you want to have some juice with special flavors, but sometimes that's too much, you mix it up with something else, and hey, just for the appetizer, maybe nice Cuban cigar, perhaps some coffee from Panama, maybe even have a cake or some chocolate from Belgium, I live a little. And if that's not enough, you want to have yourself all types of pleasures of the world, go on vacation, a nice 2-3 story house with a pool in the backyard, and a nice car, not too much, only $100,000-$200,000 car, nothing too big. And you think that's standard. The Chazon Ish says, Gdolado, giant, Kodesh Kodeshim, says to us, I have never had a single pleasure. I've never had the merit to have a single pleasure from the pleasures of this world. And this is not the problem that he's talking about. This is in addition to being in pain his whole entire life. To the point where, if you really look at the things from the outside, from the outside perspective, he says, Amanus, I don't really need to fulfill any mitzvot. I don't need to go to the Knesset. I don't need to learn Torah. I don't need to keep Shabbat. That's how much he was suffering. But yet he says, the only joy in life that I get is learning Torah. To do the will of my master. That's what I get. Do mitzvot, put on tzitzit, all the mitzvot, that's the joy. And the only thing that I really suffer from is not all the things that I'm talking to you about. I'm not suffering from pain. I'm not crying over the fact that I'm poor. No. The only thing that I really have sorrow over is if I fail at a transgression. Accidentally I forgot something. Accidentally I missed something. Accidentally I said something. Accidents. Transgression. That gives me a lot of sorrow. Joy, Torah, sorrow, transgressions. That's a gadol. And here he says also, in EREV number 10, regarding, he's writing a letter to someone that's going to take on the mitzvah of tzitzit. And he says to him, when you merit to put on the tzitzit, you will then merit to feel physically, to feel a holy joy. What's this holy joy? It's due to the tzitzit, the action of you putting on a tzitzit, tying itself spiritually to the Torah itself. The Chazon Ish saying to a person, like you and I are talking normally. By the way, when you put on tzitzit, you're going to feel something. You're going to feel a certain joy in your neshama. What is that? You're going to be confused? Don't worry. That is the tzitzit spiritually connecting to the Torah that you're learning. How come we don't feel it? I tell people, why don't you put on tzitzit? No, Rabbi, it's hot. Genom is hotter too, by the way. But just so you know, you're supposed to feel like this. How come you don't feel it? We're not the Chazon Ish. We're not Kodesh Kodeshim. Chazon Ish. You can feel something. To put on the tzitzit. Every day you put on the tzitzit, you feel something. What does a rebuke sound from a Gadol Ador? What does a rebuke sound like? In EREV RAV, number 8. He talks to a yeshiva bachur that's going off a little bit. And he writes to him, though there are many difficulties, when one truly toils in Torah, all of the heavy weight of the world will be uplifted from them. Know that it's only due to my love and remorse for you that I am trying to give you rebukes that are against my own very nature. And I plead with you, Chazo becha ben Adam. Return, young man, because tomorrow you'll regret that you are playing today. Come and enjoy the Torah and toil in something that has eternal reward. The Chazon Ish talks to another Jew in a way. He's like, listen, you're a Bachur Yeshiva, you're not really sure you're gonna stay, you're gonna go, you're gonna this. Why? You tell me you have stress, money, you're looking for this, you're looking for shidduch, you have some addictions, you have some desires. Habibi, listen, only reason is you're not learning enough Torah. Only reason why you're experiencing all of the whole world is weighing on your shoulders is because you're not learning Torah. And I'm telling you, stop playing around. Come back. Chazor becha ben adam, he says to him. Come back, person. Come back. Come back, Jew. Why? Because tomorrow you're going to regret that you were playing today. And he says, this is me even telling you this is against my nature, and I only tell you this because I feel bad for you and I love you. He didn't know this person, but he loves me as a Jew. In another you get it. Perhaps some of the strongest words the Chazon Ish has written that I know of. And you get it, 93. He gives a rebuke to a group of rich people that built a very fancy, or renovated a Knesset in a very fancy way, and decided that the kids that were coming and going into the Knesset, they were causing too much mess, so they kicked them out. Said, don't come to the Knesset anymore, that's it, it's not for kids. It's not for kids, it's too fancy, the Aron HaKodesh is $100,000, this is $500,000, this is that, no more. Chazon Ish writes them a letter, and he says to these people, the Satan has prophesied to tell you to kick out the Torah from the Bet Midrash. Meaning the Satan decided to come out off of his throne, and he decided to become a prophet, to give a prophecy. What's the prophecy? How do I kick out the Torah from the Bet Midrash? How do I take the Torah out of the Bet Knesset? How do I do it? How do I do it? He used you. He used you. You kicked out the kids. You kicked out the children of HaShem out of the Knesset. Why? Because you're a fancy Aron HaKodesh, because you have fancy chairs, and you don't want the kids to be in the... How are they going to do tshuva? How are they going to learn Torah? You want to kick them out because you want to keep your nice chairs. Says, the Satan has prophesied to you to tell you to kick out the Torah from the Bet Midrash, and you stand fast by locking the place because the prophecy of the Satan sounded good to you. Says you not only listen to the Satan, but you actually don't even want to listen to anybody telling you to stop, to let the kids come back. You're standing by the door like superheroes, locking it. No, kids not allowed over here. Why? You like the prophecy of the Satan. In essence, what did he tell this entire Keilah? You're all idol worshippers. Forget about the fact that you did something bad. You're all considered idol worshippers. Why? You are following the Satan. Satan is an idol. You're following the Satan. Now, a rebuke like this, Rabotai, it's priceless, but scary. Gdol Hador rebukes you such a thing. The Gemara in Masechet Sanhedrin, page 99, A, says, Tanu Rabbanan, the rabbis told the Berita, כדבר אדוני בזה, ואת מצוותו עפר, יכרת נפשו. Scripture says in the book of Numbers, Sefer Bamidbar, chapter 15, verse 31, says that for he despised the word of Hashem, and he has violated his commandments, that soul shall be utterly cut off. It's a very strong verse in the Torah. It says that someone despised the word of Hashem, violated the commandments, and that soul is going to get cut off. What did he despise? What qualifies, the Chachamim ask, what qualifies as despising the word of Hashem? Comes Rabbi Nehorai. Who's Rabbi Nehorai? Rabbi Meir Baal HaNes. Rabbi Meir Baal HaNes. You don't know Rabbi Meir Baal HaNes? Get out of your cave. Rabbi Meir Baal HaNes is one of the 5 students that Rabbi Akiva rebuilt the whole world of Torah from. He's also called Rabbi Nehorai. He says, Dvar Hashem Bazah. Who's that? This refers to one who says that Torah is not from heaven. Is someone that says Torah is not like the Reform. And another interpretation is Dvar Hashem Bazah is an apikos. Someone that despises the word of Hashem is an apikos and says that Hashem owes you, or he says that Hashem needs you, or that even though Hashem said something in the Torah, he doesn't really mean it. You know, like some of the heretics that we've spoken about in the past. That's an apikos. But furthermore, Kidvar Hashem Bazah, Zeh Megale Panim B'Torah, someone that despises the word of Hashem is someone who acts insolently with regards to the Torah, someone in essence that changes the rule of Torah without permission. Last but not least, Rabbi Yaron says, Dvar Hashem Bazah is someone that has the ability to go learn Torah, but doesn't feel like it. Says, no, come to Shul Torah. No, I'm going to watch the game. No, but Shul Torah. Yeah, no, I'll watch it tomorrow. I'll watch it tomorrow on YouTube. No, come learn Daf Yomi with us. No, I don't feel like it. Why not? What are you, you're sick? You're tired? What's wrong with you? No, I just want to hang out with my wife. I don't just hang out. Just, have coffee. Maybe we'll go out for a dinner or something. That's Dvar Hashem Bazah. That's despising Hashem. That act is despising Hashem. And Rabbi Yaron says, Karet. Now, Baruch Hashem, a lot of times, Halacha is not like Rabbi Meir. It doesn't mean it's not true. Point being is, the sages said, someone that despises HaKadosh Baruch Hu's Torah, it's not just the sages rebuking. HaKadosh Baruch Hu is rebuking them. And what's despising Hashem's Torah? Some of the examples that I just said, there's others. But even not learning Torah when you have the ability to do it, it's considered as if you despise the Torah and you despise Hashem. Now, when someone loves the Torah, he's willing to do anything for it. And in essence, the Chazon Ish, for him it was normal, despite his difficulties that are beyond human, suffering all day, pain all day, agony, poverty, sickness. He still says, I'm not even sad about all that. Although you may consider me anus, meaning that I don't even need to do all these mitzvot, you may consider me. You don't realize that the only joy I have in life, the only thing I want in life is to learn Torah. And the only thing that I really suffer from is not the pain. I suffer from transgressions. That's what I suffer from. When someone glues himself to Hashem and glues himself to the Torah, they don't see the world in the same lenses that the rest of us see. They won't do anything for the Torah, anything for HaKadosh Baruch Hu, anything for Am Yisrael. Some of the examples I could tell you I learned today from my Rav, are unbelievable examples. Rav Ovadia Alav Shalom was, a lot of people think, oh yeah, he was Gadol Hador, he was really smart, he had a really good memory, and that's really all they know about him. They don't realize what kind of Mesiut Nefesh Rav Ovadia made. And the amount of toil he had for the Torah and the sacrifice he made for the Torah, if you don't know the whole story, or at least more of it, it's very hard to understand. I highly recommend to buy yourself a copy of one of his bios. There are several bios that have been written about him. I can tell you that when I read one of his bios at the time, my wife and I read it together. When we got to the last page, we just started crying. Because we felt like everybody was next to us. He's like part of our family, and we were crying. Like we felt like it actually just happened. So when people connect to the Torah, to connect to its sages, to connect to the people, to the sages, to the holy people that dedicated their entire life to it. But it's not just books. It's everything that has to do with it. Am Yisrael, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, everything that comes with the Torah. You can't just be a chamor, which is, a donkey just carries books. You just know a lot of books by heart, but you care less about the people. You know Torah, but you hate Am Yisrael. There's some people like that. That's just a chamor. That's not a chacham. Donkey, not a sage. So, one time there was a young woman, immodest, didn't know anything. She shows up at Rav Ovadia's house. Now, people would come at a certain time during the week and ask for blessings, but there would be appointments. And this story was told to my Rav by an eyewitness, Rav Gidon ben Moshe, who's the head rabbi of Jerusalem when it comes to business and finance over there in the Bedin. He's one of the Gedolim of the current generation, Baruch Hashem. And Rabbi Yaron says, I was in the room. I saw the whole thing. And he says, there was a woman came, completely immodest, and she wants to go to see Rabbi Ovadia. And everybody said, listen, no, you have to have an appointment. And she said, I don't know appointment, I'm here. They come to Rabbi Ovadia. Rabbi Ovadia says, no problem, just tell her she has to wait. At the end, I'll meet with her for 5 minutes. Okay, she waits the whole time. At the end, everybody gets their meeting with the Rav, and she comes. She comes into the room, and Rabbi Ovadia obviously is not looking, and he's completely unaware of anything other than the Torah in front of him. So he said, okay, there's a woman next to you. So he says, oh, have a seat. He doesn't realize there's no chair next to him, and this girl was like, a girl from, everyday girl. So she didn't think much of it. She sat on the floor. And Rabbi Ovadia starts giving her blessings. May you do this and this and this and this and blessings. A minute into it, the girl starts hysterical crying. Mamash, her heart breaks. This is not a new thing. Big giant rabbis would walk in like superheroes to Rabbi Ovadia, walk in like little babies crying. People would go in there. It was like the Shekhinah was in the room. Giant people, strong people would go in, start crying hysterical. Like Mamash, there was like, the Shekhinah was in there. Rabbi Ovadia starts blessing her, and this young girl starts crying hysterical. And Rabbi Ovadia says, no, my dear daughter, why are you crying? Any blessing you want, I'll give it to you. She says, no, thank you. She calms down, and she gets her blessing, and she walks out. And then she turns around, and she says, I believe it was to Rav Gidon. She says, please go back inside. Tell Rabbi Ovadia, I accept complete tshuva. I'm going to do everything the Torah says. But the Rav didn't talk to you about tshuva. No. I'm going to do complete tshuva. I'm going to do Shemamash. With those blessings, he opened up her neshama. She wants the entire Torah today. Not tomorrow. Oh, it's hard for me. Closed. Nothing. I want the whole thing. How come that same thing doesn't exactly work for the average person or the rest of us? Why? You have to have the Kedusha of Rabbi Ovadia. What's the Kedusha of the Rabbi Ovadia? First and foremost, you have to toil in Torah non-stop. But also you have to be willing to sacrifice for the sake of the Torah. I'll give you one example, and then we'll go into the questions. At the Levaya, the funeral of Rabbi Ovadia, which was the biggest funeral since the time of Moshe Rabbeinu. Over 1 million Jews, 1 million people showed up to the funeral, mourning the loss of Rabbi Ovadia. There's never been as big of a funeral since the time of Moshe Rabbeinu. Even other Gedolim, name whoever you want to name, all the giants, Kvodam Bimkomam, the big honor giants, all across Jewry. No one had such a large audience. Mourning is the loss. And one of the tzaddikim that came in there was a Hasid Gul. And he was crying hysterical. He was crying hysterical. Now one of his friends, who was also a Hasid, and appreciated the wisdom of Rabbi Ovadia, he also showed up, gave honor to the Chacham, as the Gemara Masechet Moed Katan says, anyone who does not mourn the loss of the sages brings punishment on themselves. It's a very big deal in Judaism for people to mourn the sages, because you're respecting someone that's in essence Hashem's representative. He's the person that sacrificed his whole life for the sake of Hashem and His Torah. You're not mourning that loss. You don't understand what Torah is, Bichlal. Anyway, so this Hasid Gul is crying hysterical, literally like his own father died. So his friend says, listen, I understand he's a big chacham, but he's not the Rabbi of Gul. Why are you crying? As much as you are. He says, you don't understand. You don't understand who Rabbi Ovadia is. He says, who's Rabbi Ovadia then? He says to him, 40 years ago when I just got married, after the Sheva Brachot, my wife lost her mind. Right after the Sheva Brachot, week after the marriage, she tells me, listen, she grew up religious, I grew up religious, everything religious. But after, when something happened, after Shabbat B'chol, he says, listen, I just want to let you know, I'm not planning on keeping Taharat Mishpacha. Not planning on going to the mikveh, not planning on it. Now, what's halacha when a woman doesn't want to keep Taharat Mishpacha? Divorce, that's it. There's no, you can't stay married. You can't ever touch her. There is no like permissible touching when the woman doesn't go to the mikveh. It's correct. So he went to different rabbis, this, that. No one could help me, he said. No one could help me. Eventually one of the rabbis says, listen, you want help? Only one rabbi can help you. There's one rabbi can help you. Go to him. What's his name? His name is Rabbi Yosef. Who is he? I heard the name, but who is he? And this is, before Rabbi became as big as he was. He was big, but not as big as what he was the next 40 years. He says, he lives in Yerushalayim, go meet him. He goes, I'm in Tel Aviv. It's going to take me 3 buses just to get there. He goes, no, don't go then. Oh, set. He gets on a bus, 3 buses. And the buses in those days were like tractor trailers. You felt every little bump. Eventually he gets there, a few hours. He gets from Tel Aviv all the way to Yerushalayim, finds out how Rabbi lives, goes, knocks on the door, the Rabbanit, Allah Shalom. And says, I'm sorry, the Rabbi already started learning. He says, please, let me talk to him. I came all the way from far away, from Tel Aviv. He says, I'm sorry, the Rabbi started learning. I can't interrupt him. The poor Chassid starts hysterical crying. He says, you don't understand. My whole life is destroyed. I just got married, and my wife doesn't want to go to a mikveh. This. I was, okay. The Rabbanit saw this is a dire situation. He said, okay, fine. I'm going to let you into his room, but you don't say a word. You don't say nothing. He's learning. If he acknowledges you, then you can talk to him. But if he doesn't acknowledge you, you sit there however long it takes. Rabbanit was very, very protective over the Rabbi's, Ovadiah's Torah. So, he says, no problem. He sat there like a good boy and waiting for the Rav. The Rav is learning. And usually, the Rav could learn literally the whole day, not notice where it is. There's a video online of Benjamin Netanyahu, the little Leitzan over there, went with his whole entourage to go visit Rav Ovadia, and they're standing over there expecting that Rav Ovadia is going to give them a big welcome, not realizing that Rav Ovadia doesn't even know they're in the room, with the cameras, with the entourage, with the paparazzi, with everything. He doesn't even realize they're in the room. So they're waiting. He says, you want us to interrupt them? He goes, no, let him study. He goes, no. After a while passed, a few minutes passed, they said, listen, Mr. Netanyahu, maybe you don't know Ovadia, you're going to stay here until tonight. He's not going to move. He doesn't know you're here. So if we don't tell him something, we don't get his attention, you're going to sit here all day. So after a while passed, like initially he didn't believe it, but he realized he literally is so deep into the Torah, he doesn't realize they're there. So eventually he'd say, okay. They nudged him, for the Rav, Mr. Netanyahu is here. Oh, okay. He said hello to him and so on. So anyway, so Rav Ovadia is learning, but as you would have it, HaKadosh Baruch Hu had mercy, and Rav Ovadia all of a sudden noticed this little young chassid. Says, oh, what are you doing here? And the boy starts crying. He says, Kvod Rav, my wife doesn't want to go to a mikveh. My life is ruined. What should I do? He goes, oh, okay. Where do you live? He says, Tel Aviv. Fine. Close the books. Goes, oh, let's go. He goes, where are we going? He thought he was going to take him to shul, maybe take him to, I don't know, Kivrit Tzadikim. Where are we going? No, we're going to the house. To my house is in Tel Aviv. There's 3 buses over there. He goes, okay, fine. So you just put me on the bus. I'm going to study the whole way. Just tell me when to get off. Tell me when the stop is coming, so I could go off. And it's 3 different buses, and just tell me when to get on, when to get off. But just let me study the whole time. And as you would have it, they go on the buses. Rav Ovadia, every so often, he tells, okay, it's time. He gets up, off the book, goes on another bus, second bus, third bus. Eventually, okay, we go over here, goes to the house. Yes, the wife answers, okay, we have a guest. It's Rav Ovadia Yosef. He was like, what? I heard the name. What are we doing here? What? No, nothing. He just wants to talk to you for a bit. The woman gets a little nervous. Okay, fine. When he gets ready, she goes to the room for a second, and the husband goes to the room with her. And Rav Ovadia is sitting over there in the living room. They both come outside, and they're seeing Rav Ovadia hysterical crying. The Hasid runs to the Rav and says, "Oh, for the Rav, something happened. I'm sorry. Anything I can do to the Rav?" No. Why? Why are you crying for the Rav? Why? Because why are you doing it, my daughter? Why are you doing it? Why? Why such a daughter, such a good daughter? Why are you doing it? He repeats the same. What for the Rav? What did I do? What did I do? How could a good daughter of a Kadosh Baruch Hu not go to the mikveh? Why are you not doing it? And she sees the Rav is legitimately crying, hysterical, uncontrollable, just crying. She says, "But you don't even know me. How are you crying about me like this?" He says, "I may not know you, but you are Bat Israel. We have the same father, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, our Father in heaven. And that hurts me, and it breaks my heart, And he continues to cry. And she says, "For the Rav, I swear, from today on, I'm going to keep family purity 100%. The Rav says, "Okay." The Hasid is flabbergasted at what just happened, what he witnessed over here. And the Rav says, "Okay, now it's time to go." He says, "Okay, Rav, let's go." He goes, "No, you don't need to go. You stay with your wife." He goes, "No, for the Rav, it's 3 buses." He goes, "You don't need to worry. You need to stay with your wife. I'll manage." And he got back home all the way in the middle of the night, but he got home, Baruch Hashem. How many people are going to leave their job, their learning, their life, their this, to what? To go talk to some woman, cry over there, to convince her to go keep family purity. People think, "Oh, I want to be like Rav Ovadia." All right. Are you willing to make the sacrifice like the Gedolim? And Rav Ovadia is not the only one that made some sacrifice. All of the Gedolim made sacrifices. That's what makes a Gadol a Gadol. Which in essence is the reason why it's so ridiculous when people dispute them and disagree with them and mistreat them. That's what the Chazon Ish is trying to tell us here. You're disagreeing with an angel. It's not only wrong, it's ridiculous. And that, Rabotai Karim, is very, very critical for each and every single one of us to know in our day-to-day lives of learning Torah, of practicing the Torah. If it says it in the Torah, there's a reason for it. It's not something that maybe yes, maybe no. If it says it, this is what it is. Beseder, bechavod, now you can start with your questions. Bezod Hashem, we'll have some answers. Okay, looking for the questions. Microphone, I'm just seeing that the microphone wasn't loud enough. I don't know why. The microphone's right next to me. For everything else, it seems like everything else that I do has a microphone is perfect, but for the shiurim, for some people, they have a tikkun, like they can't hear the microphone. Not sure why. I wish I would have read the messages before. I think I would use the wrong mic, maybe. Okay. Let's see, single day. Okay, here we go. Susan's asking, during that time of the month, is a woman judged during this time of her life when she has mood swings or goes down in her bitachon emunah, or if she gets angry? Of course, a person gets judged every single moment of his life, but there are certain times that the Gemara actually says that there's certain times that there's lesser judgment, even to a point of no judgment, where the Gemara says that you cannot judge somebody that is in pain. If somebody is experiencing pain and agony, you can't judge them. Because they're in essence are dealing with something that is virtually impossible to control. So if a person is experiencing pain and so on, and he ends up blurting something out of his mouth that is in other times would be inappropriate, you cannot judge him. Now again, Baruch Hashem, I'm not a woman, so I never experienced the pain that a woman deals with on a monthly basis or every time she gives birth and so on. But I know that the way that the certain women have it is more difficult than others. Some women, their time of the month is relatively easy. Other women have it very, very difficult. Have you met certain women that, students of mine that had a very difficult issue where they would literally have multiple periods in a row, where they would have maybe, there would be nidah for 2 or 3 months in a row, which makes marriage very, very difficult. So of course these things are difficult. These things sometimes can be depressing. These things can get to it, but Hashem is judging you in accordance to your circumstances, whatever those circumstances are. If a person is able to overcome those circumstances, the reward is much higher. If a person fails, then in essence they miss an opportunity. But that doesn't mean that a person that is in pain or is having a difficulty of some kind, they're just allowed to sin and they're allowed to break stuff and be angry and curse and so on and so forth. No one's ever allowed to sin openly like that. But again, Hashem does judge a person based on the circumstances. Each one of us has to know that if I'm in this situation, this is where Hashem wants me to be, and this is where Hashem wants me to excel. Not just to be in a situation, but to excel in a situation. And that's actually one of the stories that I heard from Rabbi Yaron. We have a short video about it that we made for Rabbi Yaron, but it has English subtitles. Well, so a person comes to the Chafetz Chaim and says, Kvod Rav, is there a ticket that gets a person to Olam Haba? Meaning, is there like one thing that a person can do and get to Olam Haba and that's it? And the Chafetz Chaim says, yes, there is. He says, what is that? It says to be happy with whatever circumstance you have. If you can get to that point of being happy with whatever circumstance you have, being fulfilled with it, you can get to Olam Haba. Now, of course, it sounds easier than done, but the point being is that if a person is able to elevate themselves despite the circumstances, whether it be pain financially, physically, or otherwise, then of course the reward is greater, and more importantly, they're fulfilling their purpose because they're elevating themselves. But if a person, every single time they have pain or they have some type of certain problem happen to them, if every single time they react the same exact way, years upon years, despite their learning of Torah, that means that the Torah is, they may be reading it, but they're not applying it, because the Torah is supposed to change you. If you're learning many books and you're still the same animal that you were 6 months ago, a year ago, 5 years ago, and so on and so forth, then Torah is you're treating like a novel. But if a person is realizes, okay, today I'm an animal, but I'm gonna learn Torah and I'm gonna start applying as much as I can. Little by little, that Torah is supposed to make us less animalistic and more of a pure person. So a person should see themselves grow on a regular basis. In the beginning, it's much more rapidly than later on, but nonetheless, they should be continuously growing for their whole life. So how do you know if you're growing or not? How are you dealing with your difficult circumstances that are more common? Not the ones that are rare, once in a lifetime difficulty, but rather the ones that are more common. Every one of us has recurring difficulties. Some have recurring health issues, some have recurring financial issues, some have recurring family issues, and so on and so forth. Every one of us has our own baggage. The point being is, since you already know it's recurring, you should know that Hashem is expecting you to use the Torah to react to that recurring problem in a better way than the way you were reacting to it before you started learning Torah. If you're still reacting to that problem, whatever that problem is, the same exact way, a year, 2, 5, 10 years, as you did in the beginning before you learned Torah, that means that you're not applying the Torah. And unfortunately, that happens many times where you see certain people, they watch 2, 3, 4, 5, 10 shulim sometimes in a single day, but yet she'll still curse out her husband. Yet he'll still cheat on his wife. He'll still cheat on his clients. They're still going to steal. They're still going to waste seed. They're still going to do certain things as if the Torah never talked about it. So that's a person that's not applying the Torah. That's just a person that likes to watch lectures, like some people like to watch movies and TV shows. If the Torah is not constantly perfecting you and making you a softer person, a more kind person, a more caring person, a more understanding person, a more generous person, if the Torah is not doing that for you, then you're not learning Torah the right way. I know a few people, literally, they've been watching lectures for 10, 20, in one case, maybe 25 years. Still walking around with most of the same sins that they had when they started. But they can tell you everything about every rabbi. Oh, this rabbi, yeah, he's a good speaker. I like the way he talks in English. Sometimes he speaks in Hebrew. And that guy, yeah, he talks about mysticism. And that one, he has gulot. And they'll tell you everything about all the rabbis. They're constantly listening to rabbis. Right? They go rabbi hopping. And they go to the lectures when there's an event locally. And they go this, and they do this, and they do that. But the way they acted in reality, animals. How can you watch all those rabbis and all those lectures and nothing? Because you're watching it, or you're reading that book, or you're reading that newsletter, or you're doing whatever learning that you're supposed to be doing, but more as an intellectual endeavor rather than something that is going to mold you into being the better human being you're supposed to become. So if a person sees that their difficulties may stay the same, but their reaction to them is changing, that's a good sign that they're growing. But if it's not changing, then that's a good sign to do tshuva as soon as possible. Leah is saying, if one donates towards the new Tikkun HaBrit movie, will it help with past sins? Good question. So, when it comes to Tikkun HaBrit, this is one of those things where it's not an easy tshuva. It's not an easy tshuva. When the Zohar Kadosh says that to do tshuva for wasting seed, for immorality, for promiscuity, and so on, it's not an easy tshuva. Why? Because Hashem doesn't help a person with that tshuva right away. And it's really on your own in the beginning. But the point being is that if a person wants to do tshuva for it, as we've talked about in the past, first and foremost, you have to know that the prophet Hosea says that you despise the Shem by killing the children. What killing the children? What does one thing have to do with the other? The Chachamim say when the prophet Hosea is referring to that you show that you despise Hashem by wasting seed, by doing Pgam HaBrit. So when a person wastes seed, when a person is committing this type of sin, it's literally showing hatred to God. It's not a good thing. So to do tshuva for it, you should know it's not supposed to be easy. So step number one, you have to stop. You cannot have boyfriend, girlfriend. It's either you're married or you're not married. Simple. And when you're married, you have to only be together when the woman is pure, went to the mikveh and so on. So first and foremost, stop the sin. That's number one. If you're going to continue watching, pornography or movies, even if they're not pornography, or TV shows or internet shows, you're going to continue watching anything other than Torah videos, you're going to continue sinning. So you haven't even started your tshuva. You have to be strict when it comes to this. You have to be strict when it comes to your eyes. You let your eyes see impurity on a regular basis, not the impurity that's randomly in the streets anyway. I'm talking about you're bringing yourself to impurity. Torah already calls you a rasha. The Gemara says that if a person has two options, he can go by the river, or he can go a completely different route, but it's much longer to get to his point. And he sees that by the river, there's women over there washing clothes, so he's going to see the bottom of their legs, meaning near the shin. He's going to see their hands doing the laundry. So it's not exactly the most immodest thing in today's standards, but nonetheless, still shouldn't look at it. So he says, you know what, I'll just close my eyes. I'll go the shorter route, but I'll close my eyes. I won't look at those women. Gemara says, Masechet Bava Metzia, Rashahu. He's a wicked, wicked person. Why? He put himself in a circumstance where he brought himself closer to a sin. So if you're watching television, if you're even the news, you're watching the news, all those immodest newscasters, all those immodest guests that they have. You're watching the, you need to know the news, you can listen to it on the radio. You don't need to watch it. So you're watching the news, you're watching movies, you're watching TV shows, you're going to shows, you're doing all of these different things. You haven't even begun your tshuva. Why? Because you're constantly bringing yourself to sin, which means that you're not committed to stopping. You're not committed to stopping. So first step is, you have to stop. Second step, put a fence, meaning educate yourself enough about the sin. As Rabbi Yisrael Misalan says, the way to do tshuva for any sin, specifically for the sins of immorality, is to learn the laws about immorality. All of those lectures that we made about immorality, the movie, all of that stuff, learn that stuff. Learn it on a regular basis. That fixes your neshama. That also reminds you of where not to go, what not to do. Third step is get yourself to a point of feeling remorse, feeling bad about all those sins. Every time that you were promiscuous, every time that you were immodest, every time that you wasted seed, every time that you did all types of things that Hashem says it's forbidden, you have to get to a point of remorse. Say I'm sorry to Hashem. Cry over it. It's a very, very big deal. Now, what about, okay, so now you've done tshuva, good for you, but what about the past? There's only one way to fix the past. Now, doing tshuva, all that stuff that I just told you, that's fantastic. But at the best case scenario, Gemara Masechet Yoma says the two types of tshuva. There's tshuva from fear, there's tshuva from love. Two types of tshuva. If you do tshuva from fear, you're turning all of your past sins into sins that went from being purposeful sins, horrible sins, to being accidental sins, which means you're still going to get punished, but just nowhere near as much. But if you do tshuva from love, then all of your sins turn into mitzvot. Now how are you going to do tshuva from love? You don't even know what loving Hashem means. There's one secret. There's one way the Chachamim tell us that you can express love to Hashem. What's that way? Do kiruv. Help other Jews do tshuva. That's the highest way that you can show that you love Hashem's children, thereby showing that you love Hashem. That's tshuva from love. That's the highest level. The Zera Shimshon says the highest level of tshuva requires kiruv because it shows you that you love Hashem by helping other people do tshuva. So now, Rabotai Yekarim, if you want to do tshuva, good. Now, if you want to do a low-level tshuva, so you're still going to go to Gehinnom a little bit, no problem. Just do tshuva, worry about yourself, and that's no problem. But if you want to go straight to Gan Eden, and at the same time, take a bunch of people with you to Gan Eden, you have to get involved with kiruv. The best project we've ever done in the 7 years that I'm doing this. We've done over 150 movies, a few thousand lectures in Hebrew, in English, and so on. The biggest project we've ever had is the one that we have right now, which is this movie. A person that's going to sponsor this specific movie can utilize this tool as a way for their tshuva from love. Not only just tshuva, but tshuva from love, which literally can not only make your past sins gone, but even more, can turn all of the past times that you've wasted seed, all of the past times that you were immoral, all of the past times that you were promiscuous, all of the past times that you did things that Hashem said is forbidden, you can turn all of those sins into mitzvot. The Gemara says, Masechet Yoma, page 86. All of the sins turn into mitzvot. Why? Because now your kiruv is turning your tshuva to love. Now, what does it mean, kiruv from love? Now, if you have $100,000 a year income, $100,000 in the bank, and you're donating $1,000, don't think for a second that's tshuva from love. I'm sorry. Why? Like I said in the beginning of the lecture, it has to be proportional to where you're at in life. You donating $1,000, it's good, it'll help you, it's a huge amount of mitzvot, but don't think that just because you donated $1,000 and you're making $100,000, you have $100,000, you have even more. You have a house that's $500,000, $1 million, and you donated $1,000, you think that you're going to go straight to Gan Eden and not a stepping. You're being unrealistic. A person needs to make this literally an investment in that. And it doesn't necessarily need to be a one-time investment. It can be on a regular basis, annual basis, quarterly basis, whatever it is. And it doesn't necessarily need to be just this. It could be anything that's relevant to Tikkun HaBrit. I think this is the best tool I've ever seen in my life, simply because I'm in the business and I see what's available, what's not, and what helps people, what doesn't. And I know this movie is going to be the most explosive thing to ever hit the Kiruv world in the English language. Maybe even period. Hebrew, English, German, any other language. Now, someone that invests into this movie, makes it a major investment in life, literally can turn all of their sins into mitzvot. Now, I brought you several sources from Chachamim. You don't want to believe me? No problem. Believe somebody else. Do what you want. But I tell you, if I was not doing this, if I wasn't giving lectures and doing that, I'd literally put a nest egg. Not just my nest. I would put a nest egg into something like this. Why? Because I know in the secular world, I wasn't exactly the biggest tzaddik. And the average person is not exactly the biggest tzaddik. Even the people that are in the frum world today. Why? It's just a reality. People are seeing all types of things that are inappropriate and so on. So anyone that understands the magnitude of the sin of wasting seed, the Shulchan Aruch calls wasting seed the worst sin in the Torah. How is something go and become the worst sin in the Torah? Chilul Shabbat is worse than the Torah. Chilul HaShem is worse than the Torah. Eating chametz on Pesach is worse than the Torah. How come the Shulchan Aruch calls this the worst sin in the Torah? I heard this from Rav Meir Eliyahu, Giant Chacham. He says something amazing. And it's emet. He says it became the biggest sin in the Torah. Wasting seed became the biggest sin in the Torah because although Chilul Shabbat, desecrating Yom Kippur, Pesach, and so on, they're all big sins. They're all karet. No other sin in the Torah, makes as many destructive forces of demons as wasting seed is. Every one of them makes 1, 2, that's it. When a person wastes seed, or when a woman causes a man to waste seed, or when there's promiscuity, men and women, both Jews, Jew and non-Jew, and so on and so forth, when a person wastes seed, bad results happen not just in this world. They create literally millions upon millions upon millions of demons with each and every single sin. No other sin comes close, thereby making it the worst sin in the Torah. The only way to fix such a thing is to help Am Yisrael do tshuva for this issue. Only other way. There is no other way. So that's why, Rabotai, I speak about it so often. That's why I deal with it on a regular basis, because not only do I know that virtually nobody else talks about it, but also I know that the reward for helping you do tshuva for it puts me on a completely different boat. Helping you do tshuva for Shabbat, helping you do tshuva for a lot of other things is all good. It's all fantastic. But helping each and every single one of you overcome this desire, become a tzaddik, like Baruch Hashem we've succeeded to do with countless people, puts different people. You have whatever opinion anyone can have of me, they can have it. It doesn't really make a difference. I know what I'm doing. My Rav knows what I'm doing. His rabbis know what we're doing. And it's not a coincidence, and it's definitely not a favor that all of these big rabbis made videos or wrote letters, to support us. It's Baruch Hashem, we're doing Baruch Hashem Avodat Kodesh for the sake of Am Yisrael, not for the sake of money or anything else. So like I said, someone that makes an investment into this particular movie, or just in essence to help us with educating the public about Tikkun HaBrit, is literally making an investment, not of a lifetime, of eternity. Why? Because there is no other investment that can do the same thing as this. There is nothing else that exists in the world. And so, does it help your past? I think I answered that question. Robert, can one be affected by Ayin Hara from someone if that person looks at a picture of them? In fact, a person can be affected by Ayin Hara even if they don't look at a picture of them. They can just talk about a person. Let's say two people can talk to each other about person number 3, they can give him Ayin Hara. Even worse, a person talks about himself, he can give himself Ayin Hara. How does a person protect himself from Ayin Hara? Learn a lot of Torah. Learn a lot of Torah, do a lot of mitzvot, help Am Yisrael do tshuva, you'll protect yourself from Ayin Hara. There are also special zgulot and things like that, but the Torah is neged kulam. Torah is superior to everything. Joseph, Should Am Yisrael attempt to influence politics in the state of Israel to fulfill messianic prophecies? For instance, trying to restore the full right of Jews to pray at the Temple Mount, or maybe lobbying to make observance of the 7 Noahide laws compulsory to the Gentiles, like Rav Kahana suggested. Should they do it? No, they shouldn't do it. It's not Da'at Torah. It's not the opinion of the Torah to get involved into politics to that extent. It's not the Da'at Torah to fulfill messianic prophecies. Messianic prophecies get fulfilled on their own. It's not Da'at Torah for anyone to go and pray at the Temple Mount. We're not allowed to go there. It's not Da'at Torah for us to go build a Bet Mikdash either. The Bet Mikdash is going to come down from heaven ready when the Mashiach comes. That's going to be one of the jobs of the Mashiach. Anyone that tells you that they're ready to build a Bet Mikdash and things of that nature doesn't know anything about Torah. We are not supposed to force the Mashiach to come. Or do things that we believe are important, like such as things as going into politics and influencing all types of politicians to do things to fulfill messianic prophecies. That's not the opinion of the Torah. That's actually also one of the arguments that Rav Misatmer and other followers that he had against the whole founding of modern day Israel, where they believed that them pushing themselves into Eretz Yisrael is not only not fulfilling the messianic prophecies, but is actually forsaking them. Why? Because we actually made a deal with HaShem that we're not going to bring ourselves back to Eretz Yisrael. In fact, we're going to wait for him to allow us to go into Eretz Yisrael. But since now we already are in Eretz Yisrael, it's ours, and HaShem is merciful enough on us to give it to us, even though we didn't listen to him. But nonetheless, it's not our job to fulfill messianic prophecies. It's our job to learn Torah, to do tshuva, and let Hashem do the rest. Charlie, is there any significance to being disturbed or interrupted during prayers and Torah study frequently? Yes, there is definitely significance. It means that the Satan doesn't like your Torah learning and doesn't like your prayers because you are impacting him. So you have to overcome that difficulty. As much as you possibly can, you have to overcome that difficulty and get to a point where no matter what happens, you're going to remain focused and continue learning Torah. But if the Satan sees that every time something breaks in the kitchen, you get up out of your chair and you stop learning Torah, and every time somebody cries, you get up and you stop learning Torah, and every time somebody rings the doorbell, you stop and you stop learning Torah, then what do you think the Satan is going to do? He's going to continue ringing your bell. He's going to send people to your house to just ring the wrong bell, just play ring and run. Ring and run. They're going to ring your bell just to make sure that you don't study Torah. If he knows it's working, then he's going to continue doing it. So you have to act as if, tell your family, listen, from this hour to that hour, just pretend I died. Why? Because no matter what you do, I'm not going to respond. I'm going to learn Torah. That's my Torah time. Just pretend like I died. What would you do if I died and something happened? Nothing, right? Because I died. So pretend like I died. And that's in essence what each and every single one of us need to do. It's harder to do than to say it, but nonetheless, that's really what you want to do in order to overcome those difficulties. Next. Chodesh Tov Mevorach. Yes, thank you. Is one allowed to, David is asking, is one allowed to use the voice command feature on a cell phone to listen to a Shiur Torah? Does it violate any of the prohibitions of Shabbat? If you're talking about, to listen to a Shiur on your phone, you're allowed to listen to a Shiur on your phone 6 days a week. But if you're talking about listening to a Shiur on Shabbat, no, it's completely forbidden. It's completely forbidden. You have it in your Siddur. It's the prophet Isaiah. The prophet Isaiah says that in the Gemara, Masechet Shabbat, Masechet Avodah Zarah, talks about it, that there are certain things that are considered mundane, that you're not allowed to deal with them because they're mundane. So although you're going to listen to a Shiur Torah, the technology that you're using, the action that you're taking in order to listen to Torah is not an action that's appropriate for Shabbat. So it's actually still considered Chilul Shabbat. Even talking about business is considered Chilul Shabbat, even without doing the business itself. So it's important that a person know that when it comes to Shabbat, there's two mitzvot. There is observing the Shabbat by not violating one of the 39 prohibitions, and there's also Onek Shabbat. Onek Shabbat means honor for Shabbat. So to use a phone, or listen to a recording, or watch a television, or play sports, these are not actual 39 prohibitions, but they are desecrations of Shabbat because they desecrate the honor of Shabbat. So therefore it's still considered Chilul Shabbat and it's forbidden. William says no. So you answered the question without knowing what you're talking about, William. Okay, so you shouldn't answer questions. Let's see. Please, with so many people struggling with anxiety and find it hard to concentrate in getting my daily prayers and my duties that I must do, how can I get back on track? The main thing to do in order to get back on track is to learn Torah. That's the main thing. Now, in the beginning, to learn Torah from books, from the Gemara, from the Shulchan Aruch, from the Poskim, and the books in general, sometimes can get tough. So HaKadosh Baruch Hu knows that and made it easier for you. What can you do? You can watch our lectures. We make 3 live lectures per week. You can watch them live, or if you can't watch them live, you want to watch them, at your convenience. You go to our app, the Be'ezrat Hashem app. Type in on the App Store BEEZRAT Type that. You'll see Be'ezrat Hashem app. You download that app for free, and you'll have thousands of lectures available to you to listen at your convenience. You can stop and go. You can listen to 5 minutes at a time, and so on and so forth. That way you can constantly listen to Torah, constantly learn Torah, and constantly rewire your neshama in order to overcome the life's obstacles. And one of the things I would suggest specifically for you when you're dealing with anxiety is 2 specific series that we made. One of them is called the Bitachon series, B-I-T-A-C-H-O-N, Bitachon series, or Bitachon B'Hashem may be called. That's on our app. Or the Jewish Ashkafa series that we're doing now. Those 2 series will help you tremendously when it comes to anxiety and with your prayer and everything else. So B'ezrat Hashem, you listen, you do it, and little by little you'll get stronger, you get closer to Hashem, and it'll also eventually give you the strength to do even further learning than the lectures, and also combine it with learning with books. You should always listen to lectures, but nonetheless, especially lectures that from a speaker that has helped you grow in Judaism, it should always stay connected to the original source, but nonetheless, over time, as a person grows, you should add more and more books to their life as well. Okay, next. David. Is eating Chadash a Torah prohibition? If you don't know how to decode a date, how do you go about shopping? When it comes to Kemach Yashan and Chadash and so on, there is a sticker. A kosher store will have a sticker on or at least something to print on the packaging to let you know if it is a Kemach Yashan or not. Why? Because it's significant. It's a significant difference. Now, as far as if it's a Torah prohibition or a rabbinical, I believe it's rabbinical, but there are some poskim that say otherwise. But nonetheless, it's if you have the ability to eat yashan and so on, and to follow this halacha, you definitely should. A blessing will be upon you. But if you live in a certain community where it's simply not available, then you have you're anus. You have no ability to follow it. You just eat whatever kosher available you have. Next, Shabtai. Is it Yetzirah or Amalek? I have been having a hard time connecting with Hashem when praying, putting on tefillin. keeping Shabbat is out of my control. Family members are disabled and I do everything in the house. I'm trying to save money to move out. I mean, as far as a Shabbat, I mean, unless the person that you're helping is in a life risk, then, I mean, I don't believe that you need to violate Shabbat for them. And again, I mean, if they tell you just turn on the light, turn off the light, then you see if you could find another way to do that, either by having a Shaun Shabbat, which is a Shabbat clock that could turn on the light and turn off the light at a certain time, or they can do it themselves if they have the ability to do it, and not you doing it. So you shouldn't, just because you're helping out in the house doesn't mean that you have open season to violating Shabbat. And of course, when a person violates Shabbat inappropriately, they lose all of their blessing, and therefore it's going to hurt their tefillin, it's going to hurt their prayer, it's going to hurt their learning, it's going to hurt their connection to HaShem. So I would say that you should learn Halachot Shabbat very extensively, and make sure that you are doing everything you're supposed to be doing and everything you're allowed to do. There's many books about it. If you're Sephardi, I would recommend buying the set as part of the series by the Rishon LeZion. It's called Yalkut Yosef, Y-A-L-K-U-T, Yosef, Y-O-S-E-F. It was originally started by Rav Ovadia and completed by his son, Rabbi Yitzchak Yosef. They have it in English. I believe they have it in a few other languages. And that's for Sephardic Jews. If it's for Ashkenazim, there's quite a few books for Ashkenazim for Halachot Shabbat. There's one of those books is actually in our Kiruv package. So you can order our Kiruv package. It has a Halachot Shabbat book of practical halacha. Practical halacha meaning day-to-day stuff. You have to learn Halachot Shabbat to make sure that you're not violating Shabbat inappropriately, even if it's for the sake of health and otherwise. So moving out is not something that you should wait for in order for you to keep Shabbat. You could keep Shabbat in 2 days from now. Shabbat's coming up, a couple of days from now, you keep that Shabbat. And but you have to obviously prepare yourself ahead of time of how can I keep Shabbat, what can I do, what do I need to say, and so on and so forth. But I believe that once you observe Shabbat the right way, a lot of blessing will come to your life in learning, in praying, in parnasah and everything else. Why? Because we know that this is a vezot yabacha, that this is the blessing. This is the foundation of all of our blessing is Shabbat. Next. Is it okay to make tshuva during a shiur, or should one wait until after? If a person is learning Torah and something impacts him and he wants to do tshuva, or she wants to do tshuva, then they should do the tshuva. But if that's going to be disturbing them or removing them from the lecture, from the shiur itself, no, they should continue learning and then do tshuva after. But if, let's say, they're reading a book, and they can go back to the book. Let's say they just there's one thing they forgot to do a blessing. Say, oh, okay, so I forgot to do a blessing. Okay, 1 second. I'm sorry, Hashem, I didn't do a blessing. Chatanu avinu pashanu. And commit to doing a blessing, and then go back to the book. If it's a 2-second thing, no problem. But if it's a lecture, if it's something like that, then it's usually should stay with the lecture and just do it after. Yeah, that's a full documentary of Rabbi Ovadia's life. Yeah, I heard about it. I never watched it, but I heard about it. It's good. I'd still recommend reading the book, but I'm sure the documentary is extraordinary. I always recommend for people to learn about our sages to always have a bio that you're reading at any given time. At all times, reading a bio. Read a bio of, you finish one, you do another, finish one, do another, finish one, do another. Always, it's the Chachamim say that learning about our sages, whether it's the sages of today or sages of 1,000 years ago, it's like learning the ways of HaShem. It's learning the ways of how HaShem treats his tzaddikim. you see their lives and so on. It's always very good to learn the bios of tzaddikim. Okay, Yaakov is asking, people talk dvarim betelim in shul, which means baseless or waste of time conversations like politics. Okay, but Kvod Harav quoted Zohar Truma 131, which says, Oy lahem, okay, that they have no chelik in Elokei Israel. I told this to my Rebbe, and he said that we don't actually have any Bet Knesset anymore today because they're built with the intention of being Bet Midrash. And he says, therefore, this law of talking perhaps does not apply. Is he wrong? And why? Yes, he's wrong. He's wrong. It's even if it's in a Bet Midrash, where you think you're allowed to talk politics in a Bet Midrash. Now let's talk politics, period. Now it's Bitul Torah, it's Bizayon to a Makom Kodesh. Now your rabbi is wrong. How can you convey it to him? I wouldn't bother, personally, to convey it to your rabbi. If he already said it to you, that means he's going to give you another excuse for something else. So I wouldn't even bother. Hashem is so good to give us Torah lectures, Baruch Hashem. Rabbi, why is Asher Meza allowed to convert people in a day? The confusion of not knowing what I am permitted to do, what I should do, what I cannot do. I made an oath to HaKadosh Baruch Hu to keep mitzvot, and went to the mikveh and the ocean like Christians do. I know that I'm not a halachic Jew, yet my soul yearns to serve Hashem as commanded in the Torah. I pray that my punishment for going through this non-kosher conversion will not be a life sentence, and that I can make necessary and appropriate steps towards a legitimate conversion. Do you have any advice for me, Rabbi? Okay, so it's important to know. It's important to know that HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants you to serve Him. He wants you to serve Him, but He wants you to serve Him the way He wants, not the way you want and the way that other people say and so on. And in fact, this is actually one of the things that we learned from this week's parasha. This week's parasha, Parashat Vayera. I'll tell you in a second, I'll give it to you. So, you see, many times people here we go. So you have in a Parashat Vayera, is Siyat Nishmaya. It's Parashat Vayera, chapter 7. ויעש משה ואהרון כאשר ציווה אדוני אותם, כן עשו. Moshe and Aaron did as Hashem commanded them, so they did. Now, this parasha has Moshe and Aaron's name a bunch of times. This parasha has the conversation between Moshe and Aaron and Hashem a bunch of times. So why does the Torah have to, why does the Kadosh Baruch Hu in essence have to exert himself, if you will, to let us know that Moshe and Aaron did what he said as he commanded them. So they did. To teach us, not only did Moshe and Aaron do what Hashem said, but they did it the way He wanted them to do it. The way He wanted them to do it. You see, if somebody asks you, can you do me a favor? Can you give me a ride to work? You say, sure. Okay, should I go into your car? No. Come on a bicycle. I'm going to tie the bicycle to my car, and then we'll get to the, what? No. I just want a ride. I'm going to give you a ride to work, but not in my car. I'm going to connect you to a bicycle. No, don't do me a favor. Why? I told you. I want you to give me a ride. I want you to do me a favor the way I want you to do me a favor. If you're not going to do it the way I want it, don't do it. Even more so with HaKadosh Baruch Hu.
your wife can ask you, honey, can I have a present for our anniversary? You say, yeah, sure, honey, no problem. The anniversary shows up. You say, hey, honey, bah! You throw it in her face. She says, keep the present. I don't even care if there's a 10-carat diamond in it. Keep it to yourself. You give it to your present like this? No, you said you wanted a present. What? I throw it at you. What's the problem? No, I wanted a present, but I wanted it the way I want it. So, even more so, Kadosh Baruch Hu says, Moshe and Aaron did what he said, so they did. What did we do? They did it the way he said it. So, Kadosh Baruch Hu has his sages as his representatives, forgetting how to speak, in this world. And he gave them the ability to institute laws, to give us the understanding of what he said, and also implement certain takanot, certain rules, even above and beyond what he said, in order to protect the Torah. So the Chachamim, initially, if you look at the Shulchan Aruch, you look at the laws that refer to conversion. The third halacha in that section, talks about how conversions used to be. In the old days, conversion used to be, somebody would come to the rabbi, says, I want to convert. They'd convert him that same day, meaning they would do the brit milah on that day. He would heal, usually takes about a month, and then they would finish the conversion. Someone that did a brit milah, a circumcision, and did not come back to do a conversion, was considered a very problematic person. Women obviously would convert on the spot unless they were married, and then they can't convert. But the point is that you see that conversion was much, much easier, sort of like how Asher Meza makes it seem to be. You want to convert, you call Asher Meza once a month, you go to the beach that's full of immodesty, that's full of immorality, that's full of tum'ah, that's full of filth, and he fills himself with a lot of heresy himself in there as well. So you're joining the heresy, the immodesty, the immorality, the Satan himself. You go to the beach, go into the beach, convert like a Christian. Yalla, here we go, you're a Jew. Mazel tov. You are not following halacha. Why? Shulchan Aruch says, want to convert? The rabbi said convert. Yes, but a lot has changed in the last 500 years. And since then, the rabbis have instituted certain things to tell us that although it's nice that we could convert people right away, technically, we don't do it anymore. Why? We have a system. What's the system? Why do we need to have a system? What's the money? No, not the money. I've converted quite a few people, Baruch Hashem. I'm dealing with 160 different families right now. So I don't even know how many people that is. 160 families right now. 3 people I sent to the Bet Din in the last month. So Baruch Hashem, I deal with converts on a regular basis. My wife was a convert. I know the pain of conversion. I know the pain of converts. I know it really, really well. And the reality is, I tell you, if this system wasn't in place, there wouldn't be Am Yisrael. There wouldn't be Am Yisrael. Why? Because what ends up happening is that Chachamim said, listen, it's nice to have conversion available right away, but we don't do it anymore. Why? There's a lot of fake converts like Asher Meza. A person that should have never converted. A person that should have never converted himself or anybody else. Why? He doesn't believe in the Torah. He doesn't believe in the Torah. He believes in Torah, its own version. His own version he believes. In their own version. And he mocks the Chachamim. He mocks a lot of different things. And he says a lot of things that are heretical. A person like this should have never converted himself, needless to say, convert other people. But what ends up happening is that his ego gets in the way. Even though he started initially, he had good intentions, because people didn't want to listen to him, he completely went off and became a psychopath. And the point is, I used to be somewhat friendly with him. He came to a couple of my lectures, said hello. I didn't really know he's so much of a heretic until I saw some of the things that he said. And he's 100% a heretic. Anyone that converts to him is 100% a goy. 100% a goy. Nothing has changed. Why? We have a system in place. What's the system in place? Like I said, it's not for money. Why? I don't do it for money. Even though there's some people that do it for money, and there's some bedis that charge money. It's not for the money. It's to make sure that the person that's converting really should convert. Really should be a Jew. Not just he wants to be a Jew, she wants to be a Jew because she's excited. I have some, this young woman came to me. No, I saw a movie. I'm really excited. I want to be a Jew. I'm learning all these books. I want to be a Jew. Okay. Can I convert this week? No, I'm sorry. It's going to take some time. Okay, what about next month? Because I'm going to be in town next month. No, I'm sorry. It's not going to be next month. Well, how long is it going to be? I'm like, I don't know. Maybe a year, maybe 5 years, maybe 1,000 years. I have no idea. It depends on you. How much you learn, how much this, how much that. No. I already talked to a different rabbi. He told me I know a lot. He told me that you should convert me right away. Okay, so let him convert you right away. I'm not converting you right away. I'm sorry. Oh, why were you strict? I'm like, listen, I can't. I'm sorry. Okay, fine. As you would have it, you think, okay, so she thinks she knows a lot, but, she's being reasonable, she's being patient, right? What does she do? She sends me a text message on Shabbat. She texts me a message on Shabbat asking me all types of questions on Shabbat. Meaning, she not only doesn't know, she doesn't even know that she doesn't know, because she doesn't even know what Shabbat is. She uses the phone on Shabbat. She sends me text messages on Shabbat. You understand? So, you have a system in place. Different rabbis have different systems in order to prepare the people and make sure that they know the information. They have made the life changes necessary. And they're ready to accept everything on themselves permanently, because once you do it, there's no undoing it. So, with that being said, know this. The minute that HaKadosh Baruch Hu accepts your tshuva, that you are 100% to doing his mitzvot the way he said it, not the way you think and the way you want, but the way he said it. The minute that he sees that you did a complete tshuva, I am certain that HaShem will open up the gates and will allow you to convert, which means he will allow you to do all the necessary things that are required for the sake of conversion. If that means moving to a Jewish neighborhood, then I'll give you the money to move to a Jewish neighborhood. If that means that you have to have the strength to overcome certain things and to make certain sacrifices, I'll give you the strength to make the sacrifices. But the point being is, you have to understand, Am Yisrael has been fighting to stay Am Yisrael for 3,300 years. Okay? It's not supposed to be easy. It's not supposed to be easy to just join us today because you read a few books and you watched a few lectures. It's not supposed to be easy. Why? We've been fighting to survive for 3,300 years. Now, Asher Meza says, no, it's supposed to be easy. The Shulchan Aruch says so. Yes, the Shulchan Aruch says so. Why? Because it's a different time. And he's an idiot for making it seem like it's the same time. At the time of the Shulchan Aruch, almost nobody wanted to convert. Why? They were killing Jews in the middle of the street. Who wants to convert? Other than Batya, Onkelos, and a few people that are mentioned because they were so rare. No one wanted to convert. Why? We were persecuted in the middle of the street. The Romans, the Greeks, the Turks, the Spaniards. Everybody wanted to kill us in the middle of the street. It was popular. It was admirable to kill Jews. You had people that are celebrated till this day, like Martin Luther and other Reshaim, wicked people, celebrate to this day because they hated Jews so much. Anti-Semitism was normal. So of course nobody wanted to convert. They said, if somebody understands the life risk they're putting themselves into by converting to Judaism, and they still want to convert, surely this person has learned enough about it. Surely this person is a person that should be a Jew, because he understands there's a life risk. Today, we don't have such a life risk, Baruch Hashem. Today, you can live as a Jew. In fact, society sometimes will admire you. Society will sometimes want to do business with you. No one's killing you in the middle of the street, Baruch Hashem. So it's not the same circumstances. That's why we have to make sure. Are you converting because it seems like maybe you're going to make some more money because of it, or you're going to marry the right girl or guy because of it, or because it's not the same circumstances at the time of Rabbi Yosef Karo. It's not the same circumstances where you have the Spanish Inquisition. It's not the same circumstance. We don't have a Spanish Inquisition right now. So at that time, we convert people right away because no one wanted to convert, because it was a life risk. And the only people that wanted to convert were real serious tzaddikim, or people that were delusional. But nonetheless, it was very few. Today, there's a prophecy. Gemara, Masechet Avodah Zarah, page 3b, 4a. Before Mashiach comes, there's going to be a lot of converts, it says. A lot of converts. I have dealt with converts since the beginning, but I can tell you for sure, I deal with the Beddins on a regular basis. I ask the Beddin on a regular basis, how are we doing with converts? You guys getting a lot of converts from different places and so on? He says, we can't even handle. With so many people, good converts, are coming in, they're coming in. We used to get, he said, 5 a month. Now we're getting 5 a day. So a lot of people want to convert. So you cannot just trust everyone. Say, oh no, everyone convert, kumbaya, turn 8 billion people into Jews. And then, 99% of them end up staying idol worshippers like Asher Meza, who idolizes himself, and Dennis Prager. So you have to understand, times have changed, and the rabbis are simply applying the strength that Hashem himself gave them in order to protect the sanctity of the Torah. To just convert people on a massive scale just because you want to be a nice guy, not only shows you don't know anything, but it actually shows you're a dangerous person. If you see some of his videos, this Asher Meza, you see some of his videos of his mass conversions. First of all, you see that he's more connected to Christianity than he is to Judaism. That's number one. Second of all, he has no concept whatsoever of what modesty is. No concept. He's converting men and women, same place, no problem. The women show up to the conversion completely immodest. They have no concept whatsoever of what Judaism really is. No one's going to accept them. He admits himself that over 500 people that he converted, no one's going to accept him. Meaning he's destroyed the lives of at least 500 people. He says he converted 1,000 people, at least 500 have problems. So he destroyed the lives of at least 500 people, and he continues to do it. So you have people showing up to the conversion. They don't know anything about Tikkun HaBrit. They don't know anything about Shabbat. They don't know anything about modesty. They don't know anything about Musa. They don't know anything about Halacha. They don't know anything about anything other than what they saw in his videos on YouTube. They don't know anything about anything. And yet, they criticize the sages, the Chachamim of all generations. They say silly things like, oh, that's just the Gemara. Oh, that's just the sages. Oh, that's just Abaye. That's just Rava. That's just this and that's just that. Oh, the Rambam. And they talk about the sages as if they're Joe Smith on the street. You see these people, not only they shouldn't have converted, most likely they should never convert. Never, ever. Why? Because they're dangerous to society. What Asher Meza is doing, and I haven't said it, and probably I'm going to have to say it today, what Asher Meza is doing, and I've talked about this with my Rav many times, and I never really want to talk about this clown because I don't want to make him more popular, because he's 99% of his crowd is goyim, let it stay that way. He's not really affecting Jews, he's just creating EREV RAV. That's what Asher Meza is doing. He's creating a new EREV RAV. He is an EREV RAV, and he's creating a new EREV RAV. His role model, Dennis Prager, is an EREV RAV. He's an EREV RAV. The apple doesn't fall far from the tree, and he's creating a new EREV RAV. All he does is desecrate the Torah on a regular basis. And you can tell him I said that. I'm sure he's probably watching as we speak, even though he thinks that I don't know it. The point being is that you want to be a good Jew, you have to unwire yourself. Everything you've ever learned from him, everything you've ever learned from that world, you have to literally undo it and relearn everything from scratch. When you do tshuva, seriously, I promise you that Hashem will open up the gates for you. And if I can help you do it, if I can help you teach it, I'll be more than happy to. You have other people that are better than me, Baruch haba, go to them. Point being is, you have to understand, Torah is not just because you learn some books, watch some videos, and therefore Hashem is going to accept you. We learned from Moshe and Aaron in this week's Parashat Vayera. Hashem says, they did what I said. Yes, they did. What? They did what I said like I said it. Like I said. Not like they thought or maybe or yes. You follow the Torah like Hashem says it. Not like you feel like it or Asher decides to tell. Like it is. And that means if the rabbis are saying you have to go through a process, you have to go to a recognized Beit Din, you have to go to Talmidei Chachamim. It's not even necessarily just that you have to go to a recognized Beit Din, but it has to be serious Talmidei Chachamim that actually convert you, that are bekim in the issue, that are kosher Jews, and it's not a bunch of girls right next to you in the mikveh, and because you're going to the beach. So you start doing what Hashem says, the way He said it. I have no doubt in my mind you'll succeed. I have two people as an example. I can tell you, then we'll move on to the last one or two questions. One person came to me after he tried converting for already 14 years. 14 years, Hashem constantly closed the door in his face. Constantly. He tried with this one, tried with that one, tried with this, tried with that. But every time he got close, something happened in his life, Hashem just simply shut the door in his face. Divorce, health crisis, money crisis, this crisis, that crisis. Every time he thought he was going to get to it, failed. One day he met me, he started watching my shiurim and so on and so forth. He realized that everything that he knows is simply a mistake. Mistake. He knows somebody, mistake. Started doing serious tshuva, literally within maybe 2 years, a year, converted. He said, I can't believe I actually converted. I said, well, what's the big deal? He goes, I've been trying to convert for 14 years. I said, why? He started telling me everything, and I realized, oh yeah, you finally did tshuva, so HaShem made it happen. You only started doing tshuva once you started watching my lectures, once you started listening to what I say, which is in accordance with what the halacha is. HaShem opened the gates for you. Before that, you were making up your own Torah, or some heretic's Torah. So Hashem closed the gate constantly. I have another guy, tells me, I don't know, a week ago, he's been trying to convert for also like 10, 12 years. Trying, constant problems. Wife, kids, this, that, right, left, up, down, business, government, this, all types of problems. Hashem constantly close the door, close the door, close the door, close the door. He wanted a legit conversion, but Hashem constantly closed the door. When did Hashem open the door? When he completed his tshuva. He completed his tshuva. Hashem says, Baruch haba, come. Come, Babale. Come, Babale. I'm waiting for you for 3,000 years. Well, how come you let me in 5 years ago, Hashem? If you say 3,000 years, why did you let me 5 years ago? You weren't ready. You weren't ready 5 years ago. If I would have let you in 5 years ago, you would have been a big sinner. So that's what I recommend. I recommend that you do serious tshuva. You start learning legitimate Torah in accordance with what the rabbis are saying, what we're supposed to say. And that way, Hashem will open up the gates. And like I said, if you do everything that's necessary, conversion should not be so difficult. It's going to be tests, but it shouldn't be difficult. But don't try to make new rules. Don't follow people that make new rules. It's not a good idea. It'll just create problems in your life. Next. Chazonish in page Emunah B'Tachon, page 120, Gemara Masechet Menachot, page 18, says, why did Rabbi Elazar ben Shamua give one of his students the wrong information, risking that the student do the wrong thing? No, he didn't give him the wrong information. The person was, in essence, answering the question or going back with a certain information, and which was right. What he was doing, the student was doing was right. What the student was doing was right. But the rabbi kept asking him. Why do you keep asking him? Because he wanted to remind him that there is another opinion. Meaning, what he's doing is right, but he's also not considering the other side because he's so set in on his opinion, on his what he agreed with. Sure, what you're doing is right, but don't just completely negate the other side. Realize there is an argument for the other side too. So that's why he kept asking him the same question over and over again. No. Why? Because you want him to realize, I'm asking you, if I asked you the first time, okay. Second time, okay. Third time, obviously there's a reason. To make you realize, wait, maybe I'm wrong. No, but I know I'm right. So why is he asking? There is another opinion, because there is one other chacham that says otherwise. There is another chacham. To know that when you know the halacha, you have to know all the different facets, and not only know yes or no, but also know why yes or no. Why yes or no. Yaakov, please help. I have a very big ego, and I want it to go away. I don't express it outwards, but inside, it's so big it feels like it's going to burst, and it hurts. The way to work on your ego is by learning Torah, applying it, and making major sacrifice for the sake of the Torah and Am Yisrael. The more sacrifices you make, the more Torah you make, the more Torah you learn, the smaller your ego is going to be. I would recommend part of your learning to be the series EREV RAV that we made. Within the first 5 or 6 lectures, your ego should start shrinking. Especially this lecture that talks about Chibut HaKever, which is the beating of the grave. That one should, at least temporarily shrink your ego a little bit. Let's see. Where do we donate towards the film? You go to Tikkun HaBrit.live. T as in Tom. IKKUNHAB as in boy. RIT.live. LIVE. That's it, no .com, .live. You go to that link, it'll take you to the Tikkun HaBrit campaign to donate over there. Tikkun HaBrit in order to live. Not just in this world, but also in the next world. What are your plans for subtitles of the Tikkun HaBrit movie? Well, we're planning on doing some subtitles to them in different languages. That's part of the process. But HaShem, it's going to take a little time, but nonetheless, we're going to add some subtitles in different languages. We're almost done. I read that there's two ways to put on your shoes. A, like Shulchan Aruch specifies, B, reverse of the latter. What's the significance of this practice? How does one pertain to us? So the Gemara has two different opinions. One is a Bereita and one is a Gemara that says you should start with your right and go to the left, and then one that says with the left goes to the right. So in essence, what's the psak? Psak is that you do whichever one. You can start with the right, go to the left, or start with the left, go to the right, but stick with it. Stick with it. Whatever you're doing, just stay with that way. Every day, do it the same way. Same thing with showering. Your right arm, you have soap, your right arm first, then your left arm, then your right leg, then your left leg. What's the point of all this? In essence, you are putting an order to your life, which is constantly putting HaShem in your life. You constantly think, why would you tie your right, left, or left and right arm or left arm? Because of HaShem. You're connecting your mundane activities to HaShem. So that's a way that a person can constantly think about HaShem at all times, because they connect their day-to-day movements, mundane activities, and otherwise to HaShem in every aspect. And for that, you get a reward, a very big one. So imagine, person takes a shower, gets nothing for it. Person takes a shower, gets an entire world of good for it. What's the difference? What, his soap is nicer? No. His shampoo is better? No. What's the difference? He had a certain order that followed the words of the Chachamim, and he just did it like an animal, like anybody else. He just went in the shower, washed himself till he could stop smelling like manure. Simple. He did it also to smell better, also to be more hygienic, but he had Hashem in mind even for that. Meaning he said, Hashem, I want to be hygienic, I want to be healthier, I want to be this, but also for your sake. So he connected Hashem to his every activity, to his tying of his shoe, to his taking a shower, to his eating, to his marriage, even to his intimacy. Everything has to have Hashem in mind, but again, like I said, to learn the different details of it. And in this particular case, as far as putting on your shoe, you don't have to do one or the other, but whichever one you do, stick to it. Stick to it. Are frozen vegetables and fruits safer than fresh ones in terms of bugs? Some say yes, but there is a company that is an expert in this field. I forget the name of them. If somebody really wants to, just send me a message and I'll get it and I'll send it to you guys. There is a company that sells frozen vegetables that they check. They check those frozen vegetables, which means that there is bugs in frozen vegetables also. Is it lesser? I don't know that for sure. If there is lesser or more, I mean, theoretically speaking, you would think there is lesser, but it's not necessarily true because they could just be frozen. So there is a company that specializes in this, and they sell kosher vegetables that have been checked. I think in some supermarkets and Jewish communities, and of course, I'm sure you can get it online somewhere. I don't deal with the groceries in my household, so I don't know the names, but the point is that I can get you the name if you need it. As far as vegetables and things like that, it's always good to check. It's always good to check. Annoying, but it's good. If a person gives tzedakah in general and does not designate a purpose for it, does it count for wasting seeds, stolen money, or tikkunim that require monetary sacrifice? No. If a person gives tzedakah, let's say you give tzedakah for the sake of kiruv, then it's going to be for kiruv. If you give tzedakah to, let's say, some homeless person, then it's going to be tzedakah to a homeless person. You can't say, no, I gave $1,000 last week and I just gave it, but I want it now to be for the sake of my grandmother and my grandfather and also some sin that I forgot that I did. May you rectify that? No, it has to be at the time that you give. You have to have it in mind. This is for the sake of, that's it. You don't have to write it down. You just have to have it in mind. Everything in Judaism has to come with thought. So put some thought into it. In essence, as far as the donations for this particular movie, I would recommend people donate the money and either donate it on the campaign that I mentioned, Tikkun HaBrit.live, donate over there, or if they're donating on our website or our app or anywhere else, sometimes there's a drop down you can pick that it goes for Tikkun HaBrit, and sometimes there isn't, so you could just write a little note in the box we would know. But either way, the most important part, regardless of where you donate, is to have it in mind that this is for the sake of Tikkun HaBrit. To have it in mind. Why? Because Hashem knows what's in your mind. Is it an obligation to say blessings before beginning to learn Chumash? If so, what is the blessing? When a person is a Jew, they have to, every day in the morning, they wake up and they do the blessings of the Torah. They do the blessings of the Torah, and there's 3 blessings for the Torah. Before you do those blessings, you're not allowed to learn Torah. So every Jew wakes up in the morning, they do the blessings, which is I think something that takes maybe 3 minutes or so. 5 minutes in the beginning, 6 minutes in the beginning, but the point is there's the morning blessings, and 3 of those blessings are blessings for the Torah. After that, you're allowed to learn Torah. There is a tradition that before you learn the Talmud, you make a different blessing. It's more of a prayer, if you will, than a blessing. But those blessings for the morning are already for the whole day and for everything. Let's see. Shachar, what are the main forbidden things for a Kohen? Kohen is not allowed to be with a non-Jew and not allowed to be with a convert, even with a widow. They have to observe the law. They have to make sure that they learn the Birkat Kohanim. They have to purify themselves. There's a bunch of different things, but most of those things are not applicable today because we don't have a Bet HaMikdash. The things that I said are applicable, but other things are not really applicable. I can't find where, but I read that the 5 grains of Israel are related to the 5 books of the Chumash. Is this correct? And if so, which grain corresponds with which book? I don't know if that's correct. I mean, that's probably a tam. It's called a tam, meaning sometimes the sages would give significance by using parables and analogies and comparisons with different things to give them more of a taste by connecting one thing to the other. So they say, look, we have 5 grains, we have 5 books of Moses. I mean, technically you can say that, but in reality, originally there was 7. There were 7 books. It's the same exact Chumash that we have now, but it was broken up into 7 pieces originally, and not 5. It's a nice town. I'm not familiar with it, but I definitely don't know which grain corresponds with which, because I never heard of this. But either way, it's not like a Midrash, it's more of like a rabbinic teaching, most likely from Chassidut. Sounds like it's something like that. If I do find out, I'll let you know. Torah is often referred to as water. Is it also referred to as bread? Yes, it's referred to as bread, it's referred to as oil, it's referred to as water, it's referred to a lot of different things. It's different parables or comparisons to different things based on the significance of that thing. For example, water. The reason why it's water is because water always goes to the bottom. No matter what you do, the water will continuously travel to the lowest point. And the Torah goes to a person who's the most humble. The more humble a person is, the better they're becoming as a vessel to receive the Torah. Jacob, please explain how to develop deeper kavana when davening and learning Torah. The Ramban writes in the Get to God that to have kavana in prayer is very, very significant, and a person should do tshuva before they pray. So if a person takes a few minutes before they pray to think about their day, to do a self-accounting of the mistakes that they made, say, I'm sorry to HaShem, commit to changing themselves. If they do that before they pray, surely their kavana will improve. The second thing is, the Chachamim say, is that when it comes to Amida, the Tfilat Shmoneh Esrei, you have to make sure that the first three blessings, you have complete kavana during those three, because if you have kavana during those three, it'll improve the rest of your prayer, and you're very likely to have a successful prayer for everything else. You could actually see more details about Tfilat Shmoneh Esrei, the Amida, by my dear friend, Rabbi Rav Adam Sommer. He is an extraordinary Talmid Chacham. I have some of his videos on our page, and we just actually published one yesterday about Amida. So you should learn it. It's a fantastic video. And the point is that a person that has a kavana during the first three will have good kavana during the rest of the prayer. But if a person is just breezes through the first three, most likely the rest of the prayer is going to go in the garbage too. So the biggest thing to do before everything is to put thought into it, and even more so, to do tshuva. To do tshuva before you pray, to do tshuva before you learn, and to also to make sure that you have a goal, you have some type of strategy. Like if you're going to go into a business deal, a business meeting, anything, if you're going to do anything, you have a strategy. If you don't have a strategy, then you're like a cowboy. So you want to have a strategy before you go. So you want to have a strategy of how to attack this prayer, how to attack this learning, how to do it. So my goal is to learn 1 hour straight without any interactions, without any distractions. My goal is to learn 2 hours straight without talking. My goal is to learn 5 hours straight without doing this. My goal is to pray 20 minutes, a half hour, 15 minutes, and just think about Hashem the whole time, and so on and so forth. Have a strategy and repeat that strategy in your mind constantly, and as Hashem, you'll have a very, very successful prayer. David, Asher Mesa has denied the 13 principles of Judaism and called it optional. Yeah, he denies the entire Torah. He's a complete heretic. The only reason I have not gone complete full force against him until today, and even today is not really full force, I have a lot of things I can say that I didn't say, is because again, most of his crowd are non-Jews. So the last thing I want to do is make him popular among Jews, because what happens is that sometimes I'll expose somebody, and instead of people running away from them, they'll actually go to them, which is like insanity. But that's just the way people are sometimes. Sometimes it's to see what the donkey says, because it's fascinating to see a donkey speak. And sometimes because people dafka want to do the wrong thing. There's different people do crazy things. But that's why I haven't mentioned him now. But, I guess today, B'Siyat Lishmaya, that's what came out. Okay, last question. You have stated that our mind and eyes keep all images. How do we erase immodest people we have seen so that we don't get tempted? I watch your Tikkun HaBrit series as much as possible, but previous sins that I have asked for and feel that Hashem has forgiven me, but battle with those images. Learn Torah deeply. Learn Torah deeply. So when you're learning Gemara, get into the sugya and analyze it. Sweat. Every time you sweat, it helps you with erasing the previous images. And also when you learn Musar, whether you're learning my lectures or you're learning Mesilat Yesharim or any of the Musar books, don't read it like a journal or like a newspaper. Read a few lines and delve on it. Wow, how do I apply this? What does this really mean? What do I connect it to? Go deeper into Torah. The deeper your mind is endemic into the Torah itself, the more you're suppressing those bad memories back in your mind, to the point where, Be'ezrat Hashem, they'll become a forgotten memory. Okay, so thank you very much. I really appreciate you guys learning with me. I'm a little tired. I know it's only 2 hours and 20 minutes, but hopefully this will keep you coming back. Coming back next week, we have a Be'ezrat Hashem Sunday, our series of Ashkafa, Jewish Ashkafa. It's a fantastic series. For me, it's one of my favorites, but they're all my favorites. But anyway, each one is like a little baby for me. It's helped me a lot, this series. Then Tuesday we have the EREV Mashiach, and then Wednesday we're back to doing this questions and answers. Again, please, I beg you, download our app and watch our lectures through the app, because that way you'll have more focus. That way you'll have more concentration, and that way, Be'ezrat Hashem, you'll have less distractions. Download the app, Be'ezrat Hashem app, or you could just go to Be'ezratHashem.org/get-app, and you can download it. Or you can just go to our website, Be'ezratHashem.org, and then click somewhere over there, and it'll take you to the app. Point being is, download the app. Download the app. It's free, for heaven's sake. It's free, and it's by far, and I'm not saying this because we made it, but rather because it's just a reality. You could check everybody else's app. By far, Baruch Hashem, B'Shmaya, the best Torah app in the world. The best Torah app in the world. It's an unbelievable app for lectures. There's obviously different apps for different things. Some even apps that I recommend myself. I recommend an app that's called CalJ. There's also an app called Shema, but they're not for lectures. They're for different things. But our app for lectures, by far the best app available. It's an unbelievable app. Baruch Hashem, we also made an app for Rabbi Mizrahi. So you get the scene. If you type in Be'ezrat Hashem on the App Store, you'll actually see both of our apps. Both of our apps. Our app and Rabbi Mizrahi's app. Download the apps. Watch the lectures there. It's better than anywhere else. It's better than Facebook, YouTube, and everything else. And that way you'll constantly be updated with things. I know we also have a questions and answer section in our app. And I know I've been offline for a couple of weeks. I haven't answered any questions. I apologize for that. It's just that there are too many questions that I'm dealing with everywhere else, to the point where there's literally no time to breathe. No time to breathe. So I'm going to try to catch up with some questions hopefully later this week. We have a bunch of different, really, really big projects in play aside from the movie. So Be'ezrat Hashem, working on it. Thank you again for learning with me. May HaKadosh Baruch Hu bless each and every single one of you. Please make sure to share this lecture, donate when you can, and sometimes even when you can't, but you still have some money, just to, have the Yetzirah interfering. Please support everything that we're doing, because again, at the end of the day, it's for you. It's for Am Yisrael. It's for all of the people that want to get closer to Hashem. And Be'ezrat Hashem will continue to sanctify Kadosh Baruch Hu's name together with all of the people that want to do it with us. Baruch Adonai Le'olam. Amen ve'amen.
You know when you have a dream and you see a pretty woman? You've had that? Now you never actually see an ugly woman in dreams. It's always a pretty woman. And by the way, it's always the same woman for all of us. All of us have a dream of the same exact woman. And she's more dangerous than the Satan himself. Who is she? Not even allowed to say her name. What are you gonna call for?
People are addicted to it.
I live a normal life.
Repent and you will find salvation.
Hashem Na'aseh V'Natzliach, Rabbi Yaron Reuven, introducing the new Be'ezrat Hashem Center. We, HaShem, are here in Cooper City, Florida, on Sterling Avenue. We have, in the same shopping center, we have a major kosher supermarket, lots of Jews out here. Initially, we're going to start off this place next month with the place where we can do our weekly shulim 3 times a week. And as Hashem, as the crowd grows, maybe we'll add some more shulim in Hebrew as well. Initially, it's going to be for men and women in English, and then later on, Hashem will do some other things. Later on, we're going to need to transform this place also into a synagogue. But as you can see, the walls are empty. We need an enormous amount of books. We need a Sefer Torah. We need an Aron Kodesh. We need a mechitza. We need a bima. We need all the holy things that you need for a synagogue. Now, throughout the years, we've been very generous to other people who've donated to Torah, who've donated money to different synagogues, and I'm sure that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is going to send us the right people to donate all of these things to our organization, because all we want to do is spread Torah to the world. So anyone that is serious and looking to make a major contribution to our organization, whether it be the Sefer Torah, or the Aron HaKodesh, or the Mechitza, please contact us, or simply go to our website, bezrathashem.org, and may Hashem continue to bless you.